Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Championship Monday. This is the top 8 of the epic $50,000 championship here at White Wizard Games Fair. I'm Rob Dougherty, CEO of White Wizard Games, here with our commentator, Colin Bevis. And you were here doing commentary all through the Swiss rounds yesterday and saw a lot of really amazing players and really amazing matchups.
Yeah, so the top 8 was on the screen before we started, but just to go over it again and kind of talk about the decks. The 1 seed, John Tatian, he won last year. And,
phenomenal epic player, without a doubt.
He's not only a phenomenal epic player, but just an incredible guy. Yeah. And he was wearing the duck tie. He's part of Team Flock. Yeah, we have it up here on the screen now. And he's playing against Nick Blandin.
So won last year's championship and is #1 seed coming
Number
in
one,
with the
John.
Swiss.
Yep.
He's got to be a favorite among the 8 we have here today. Although a lot of harsh competition.
Yeah, and with that matchup John has an evil Xanos deck, and Nick has an aggressive Wild Sage deck. And we'll get more into the matchups later, but John and James Moreland, they're playing a very similar list. Both members of the Flock, they tested together. Yeah. The next,
and it seems like there's a lot of team synergy going on in the members of the top 8. Not unusual, of course.
No.
Having a team to prepare with is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Helps players come in with a lot more preparation and a lot more fine-tuned deck.
In the Michael Sigrist versus Hampus Eriksson, that's actually going to be our feature match for the beginning of the top 8.
And this is a matchup we have not had on camera yet.
Yes, we'll start with Dark Draft in the best of 5. So the first 2 games will be Dark Draft, but the matchup we're excited about for games 3, 4, and 5, Mike Sigrist playing the Sage Wild deck that we saw him win it in for top 8 in round 6 yesterday on stream. Hampus tested with the Pluck University, which is Hampus and Tom Sorenson are members of that team and are here this morning. Hampus playing this kind of brand new strategy of this 3-color pump aggro deck.
Yes.
So we're really excited to see that matchup.
So out of curiosity, is Thought Plucker in the Pluck University deck?
I don't believe so this year.
That must have been very painful for them on a personal level.
I know. I actually asked some of the teammates yesterday, and they were like, if you told us last year, I talked to Jonah, who taught video last year. I was talking to him yesterday. He said, if you had asked us last year, we would have said, no way, we're not going to play Thought Plucker. But they showed up without it.
That's that's one of the great things about Epic. Players will look at the cards and they'll see this card this is what it's all about. This card is completely broken. The game revolves around this card.
Yes.
And then they'll play a little more and they'll come up with different strategies and they'll be like, yeah, that card is completely out. We have this other strategy that we know. And that can keep happening again and again, even with a stagnant card pool. Obviously, for this event, we have a whole new set. We've got the Epic Pantheon, first 4 packs of Epic Pantheon the players have access to. Now, these cards aren't out at stores yet. The first 2 packs are coming out this winter, and then a couple months later, the second 2 packs will come out. So they had advance viewing of them, but looks like our players are getting ready to go there.
We're gonna watch Mike Sigrist start his Dark Draft against Hampus Eriksson. We'll talk more about the top 8 later.
Looks like no free cards, but some very powerful. He's moved a couple evil cards to the front there. Now there's some cards that in there that the Silver Dragon can draw a card as a tribute. The Reaper is a great removal. Looks like he went with the Silver Dragon for the card.
There's also Urgent Messengers in that pack. He seemed to be going between the Silver Dragon and the Reaper. Went with the Silver Dragon.
Let's see if we can.
I would expect at least one of these zeros. Blue Dragon and Arcane Research.
Arcane Research is a really, really powerful card for digging. And
we went with Peros and Blue Dragon.
But Peros gives a lot of card pressure, and he already does have a good card. So that ally ability on the Peros could be powerful.
Right.
Pack 2, we got a Sweeper with the Apocalypse.
Right, so the 2 cards that really stand out to me here are Apocalypse and the Ice Drake, but especially early, and we watched Mike draft. Yeah, going with the Apocalypse, staying away from Loyalty 2 this early, staying open, looking for as many zeros as you can.
You can always use that Apocalypse for a draw too.
Absolutely.
Just keep your deck rolling, and the ability to threaten. Now, this is very strong piece of wild available in this pack.
And the fumble. I mean, Hampus, this must have been a pretty incredible pack. You're never excited to pass a card as powerful as
the
Fumble.
Priestess is surprisingly powerful in Limited.
One of the new Pantheon cards.
Yeah, a lot of options. And what did you go with there? It looked like
I didn't see. Oops.
We'll have to catch up on that one later.
The card that stands out to me here is Ogre Mercenary. It's the only 0 in the pack. If he chooses a card over it, it would be because of loyalty, and he does. I think he's prioritizing. I saw him do this yesterday as well. He picked the Angel there, prioritizing Ambush and Airborne as very powerful mechanics in Limited.
And he's got a couple of cards to go with a good strategy if he wants to keep on that path. The Gargoyle is a great
I love the
ambush champion. Small, but with Airborne and with the Recycle, really keep your deck flowing.
Yeah. We'll see what he picked up as well. He picked up the Fumble and the Strafing Dragon.
Good choices.
So this is the end of.
So he's got a very strong Airborne package here. He's got some nice combat control with the Fumble. He's got some direct damage with the Lightning Storm and a sweeper with the Apocalypse. Looks like he's got a good amount of gold cards that he can play on his opponent's turn. Events and champions with Ambush. This is looking like a very strong start.
Yeah, if I was Mike, I'd feel really good now.
And I believe he had 2 cards he can play on his turn, which draw him a card. The dragon, the 2 dragons.
This pack's also very strong. The Brave Squire and the Flame Spike at zeros, but surprise attack. I was going to say, very, very hard to pass this card, and I would be surprised.
There's a lot of cards that are very hard to pass. So he's got to be looking at that the Steel Golem as a potential. That card is very scary, but no surprise going with the surprise attack. And then looks like Wild is not getting a lot of love in this draft. There are some really high-pick Wild cards here. We've got Feeding Frenzy, Mythic Monster, Hunting Raptors.
I would be happy with all 4 of these cards.
And if you're even if you're not in Sage, the Keeper of Secrets is very powerful in draft as well. There are no bad picks left in this pack.
No, he could choose any of these 4 cards, and it wouldn't surprise me. This is a very strong pack, and clearly, Hampus letting Loyalty 2's letting all of that Wild go, and both of these players opening very powerful packs. I mean, Mike just had to pass a Flame Spike and a Brave Squire in the same pack to Hampus,
and
he's got to be thinking about that as well.
Happy about that,
right?
And of course, a little bit afraid of what did get picked over those cards.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Mythic Monster is a beast. 13, 15 and draws a card when it comes.
It doesn't surprise me with the Mythic Monster. The surprise attack, and already knowing you have the surprise attack, just opens you up to have some really powerful off-turn plays.
So this pack is Teleport in it. We've got Erratic Research, the Soul Hunter, which is a great defense against either large ground champions on your opponent's side or discard. The Jungle Queen going with that my cards draw card when they come into play on my turn strategy. There is and then the Secret Legion for yellow and card draw.
Yeah, he went with the Jungle Queen there, and the Wild keeps telling me he waited. He didn't take that Ice Drake, which I was he took the Apocalypse over it. Said I'm not really gonna wait, and he found it. Hampus continuing to pass him the evil.
Marcus again, discard protection. We've got the Hunting Pack is nice removal. Puts tokens on the board and can take out a small threat.
And he went with Hunting Pack and a new card from Pantheon, the Flames of Furios, which has been very impressive this weekend. I like both of those cards, and this will be also this is another really powerful pack.
There's a lot of powerful options here. So the free card is the Scholar is quite powerful.
And this is a great example. If this is pack 1, pick 1 for me, staying open, I would take a card like Citadel Scholar.
Yeah.
But at this point in the draft, that Sigrist is so much stronger in his deck, and that's why it's a really tough pick for him. And he does go with the Sigrist.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting those synergies in your deck can vastly increase the power level. And in Epic, you have to look for those types of advantages. All the cards are good. You're not going to have a scenario where your opponent's just got bad cards and nothing to play. In Epic, your opponent's going to be coming at you hard with very powerful threats every single game. You have to have more synergy. You have to have better strategies going. Looks like we're picking up at least one free card.
Yeah,
here.
He took the Knight of the Dawn and the Thrasher.
Yeah, I think those were good choices.
The reason that might look like, well, what Wolf's Call, that's not a card I haven't seen at that high of a power level, but he already has the Hunting back in his deck.
Yes.
He did still go with both zeros there, the Thrasher Demon and the Knight of the Dawn.
But looking at the faction for the ally abilities is important as well.
Right.
So this we've got an Ancient Chant in there for some card draw. Resurrection, nice combat trick.
Pyromancer. Master Zoe.
Master Zoe, great ambush champion, and we know Mike likes those. And of course, Pyromancer is in the Wild faction, which he's starting to pick up some of, and has the direct damage component.
Yeah, I think here it's that Ancient Chant, incredibly powerful draw effect, very hard to pass it. But he goes with the Pyrosaur.
Yeah. Pyromancer, yeah.
A Pyromancer.
Yeah.
And he already has the Hunting Raptors, so he's putting a lot of burn in his deck.
Yeah. All right, so wow. Okay,
so
there we're reacting to the Minotaur here.
Yeah,
Brack is a beast, especially if you get a solid wild pull, and he's looking like the Rage is another one he's thinking about.
Yep.
The incredibly powerful blue card got past the Fairy Entrancer.
Oh, we saw that. Darwin and I saw that on camera yesterday, and it was impressive. It was super interesting card. He told me all about how it was designed, and it did some work in one of the new cards from Pantheon.
Yeah, the design development process for Epic is fun and fascinating.
Yeah. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He already has 12 wild cards.
Very
Sigrist deck with 3 packs left. That was what I wanted to count there.
And he's got some nice airborne champions to assist with the wild. So he's going to be coming out at the very threatening. He's got some big guys for the ground. He's got some powerful airborne champions.
He's kind of checking everything off of a list I'm looking for when I'm drafting. He's assembling enough zeros. He is stuck to theme. He has the board wipe with Apocalypse, which is always just a great safety net to have.
Yeah. His on-turn plays are very powerful, or card drawing.
Right.
The
Silver Dragon,
kinds of things you want to be looking for.
Blue Dragon.
And he has with the Rage to grant breakthrough and the airborne champions, he's got a decent amount of evasion.
Yeah.
Now, the first 2 games of this match are going to be Dark Draft, and then we're going to move to Constructed. But if you can get a 2-0 advantage in the Dark Draft, that makes a huge difference going into the Constructed portion.
And you also might have seen there, he moved all of his zeros from all of his different factions to the very back and counted them. I think it was 6 to 8. They were towards the back. That number, also something he has in his mind. Yeah. He knows the number of zeros he has, and he knows what he's looking for. All right, this could be a great pickup here. Yes. One of the new cards from Pantheon, and perfect for his deck. A 0, and also has the...
so he's looking at the spot removal on the Bitten. He was looking at the... obvious Ribus has moved up to the front.
Yeah.
That's a solid choice.
13 wild as we keep track of that, and it's power with Sigrist in his deck now.
Okay, what do we have here? The Rebel Fighter, nice combat trick.
So there's a couple things he can do here. Even if he's not the token deck, he can take Revolt as a draw to, and sometimes a chump blocker in a really interesting scenarios. And the Brand.
Yeah.
This is the first pack that he hasn't been past wild and just like, I think this is one of the harder picks for him.
Yeah, so I think he's going to go with the Brand and
the Vital Mission. He's choosing between that
and the Revolt.
I think
the
Revolt
does have a draw 2 option, which has got to be attractive.
Yeah.
He was having a hard time choosing that between that and the Enforcer.
He does go with it, and I think he was deciding there between just having the the draw two or not with the Revolt.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a powerful, powerful gold pack.
And especially because he took up the brand, which doesn't have to, but does have that loyalty 2 on it. So I can look at those, but the hasty retreat to me stands out.
Yeah, I love the hasty retreat. As as a powerful ambush champion in the Avenger.
Yeah, but hasty retreat. It's
such a good feeling to have
so
hasty retreat in your hand during.
It allows you to play your coin first to try to get ahead when your opponent thinks you're down.
Speaking of strong wild passes, we've got a go wild. We've got a Draka's Fire, and that free worm hatchling is not to be underrated. That card can be quite powerful.
Yep, he does go with the Draka's Fire and the go wild there, nice, but he would have been happy with I think all 3 of those cards.
Interesting pack here. I think the force spike and the force lance and the Ankylosaurus obviously would fit his deck theme. He's got Airborne with the Djinn, which could also be card drawing, and he does have some yellow champions to go with that Angel.
Yeah.
So I think. I don't think he has enough blue to support the Juggernaut, but everything else in this pack is tempting.
This is a really tough pick. He's leaning towards the Angel of Mercy. He's that solidifying, like, he was like, I realized I have enough good. It's my backup color after Wild, and that's what I'm going with. The Spore Beast. Oh, wow. I think you'd be very happy with that as well. And he has the loyalty for it. And the Brachiosaurus.
Every single Final Task is a bomb in limited.
Okay.
And
he also has the Brack, the Fist of Lashnoth. Even if it's in his discard pile, he can final task it back into play, giving it blitz, attack for 14/11 with an Unbreakable. He won't even lose it at the end of turn. That could be a whole other combo in his deck.
So I have a hard time picking here. These are some good items. I think the weakest card for him is the Standard Bearer, and that's a very solid card. But for him, I think it's going to be Spore Beast's final task here. But the Brachiosaurus has got to be very tempting.
And I'm sure he's thinking about Final Task and the cards he's already picked up.
Yeah,
and if he's thinking about Final Task and Brock at all, it's just making this decision even harder.
Yeah. So he looks like he's leaning Brachiosaurus Final Task. Spore Beast is a incredibly powerful card. It gives you a huge amount of board control, and it's free in ambush, which goes along well. But it gets passed up for the pure raw power of Brachiosaurus.
And there's a good chance too that Hampus is the evil good deck that goes wide with lots of tokens. So as powerful as Spore Beast is, we see players, especially in Constructed, use it against other wild decks. Use it against big threats, but Mike knows he drafted the big threats. Yeah, exactly. He has the mythic monster and etc. Which I think he picked up earlier.
So really solid deck. And one of the things about Epic is you'll look at your deck after you've drafted or when you get your sealed pool, and you'll think, wow, this deck is amazing. There's no way I can lose with this thing. But your opponent's thinking the same thing. They were in the draft too. They had powerful Epic cards that they had access to, and of course we saw Mike pass some really sweet cards there, which he was forced to pass because you only get one first pick. And
that's the power of Epic. Everything is so powerful, and it costs 1 or it costs 0. You can only play 1 coin a turn, and no matter how powerful everything is, there's something else that's just as powerful in Epic, and that's why every card that they draft, they have to play in their deck.
And so one of the things I like about Epic is you aren't restricted. It's not if you're lucky enough to get your cards in the right order to be able to play things. It's not about having enough money to buy the power card to play. You always have access to all the cards, and you always can play every card in your hand. There's never a scenario where you're unable to play. It's always about the decisions you're making, the decisions your opponent's making. There is really powerful options up for both players at all times. So it makes the game very exciting.
From the very beginning of the game, right after mulligans, I talked about it yesterday on stream, but the mulligan process, which we'll see here in just a second, both players always start every game with the same amount of cards. They choose, obviously, if they want to lose a little bit of life to mulligan, but for the most part, not only do they always start with the same amount of cards, but from the very beginning of the game, you can play everything in your hand. There's so many choices, and everything is really powerful. And that's why, again, they drafted 30 cards. They're playing all 30 of them right now. They're basically looking through their deck for, for both of my, counting the zeros, looking at any loyalty twos they have, making, counting, how many of each faction do I have? What am I looking for? How many ambush do I have? How many draw twos do I have? Just things to try, there's maybe like 6 or 7 things I like to try to just quickly memorize or jot down to the side cryptically so my opponent doesn't see what I'm doing. But those are just things to do. They're shuffling up now, and I think Mike's very happy. There might have been nothing, and this is part of the pack, so there might have been nothing Hampus could have done. I mean, there's so much powerful wild. Sure. Regardless of what he went into. I mean, he could even have cards that are non-loyalty to wild in his deck.
You can't both cut and design your deck at the same time. You have to, at some point, you have to prioritize what you're doing, or prioritize stopping something that your opponent's going for. So, so basically, players can do some interesting tricks where they pass a really powerful loyalty card and then go into that color heavily and cut their opponent off, or try and deny certain types of cards from getting to their opponent. But in the end, your deck has to be powerful, and I'm confident Hampus will have some serious power coming on from his side of the table.
Absolutely.
As well.
He could go wide. He could have first picked a card like Xanos and said, I'm taking all of the evil cards. I'm going super wide. I'm passing all the wild cards, which usually are big but can only block once a turn. So, he's very aware and most likely thinking, Mike is the wild deck. I know what I passed him. So I'm very excited to see what Hampus has. And one more note to what you said about drafting. I've seen both like defensive and offensive drafters.
Sure.
And Martin Dickey, a good friend of mine who was competing here this weekend, I play him a lot on the app online. Yeah. And he notoriously passes me packs with 4 loyalty 2 cards in them. He's constantly just forcing my hand. Yeah. And we've talked about it before. He's an aggressive drafter where I've seen him take a card to make sure I have a harder time. So there's definitely different ways to draft. And
if you know what your opponent's into in the draft, that can be very helpful. So if you have a very strong sense because you pass something that you think they're going to pick up on early, which is loyalty, and going to force them into that faction, you can help prioritize your cards based on what they're good against. All epic cards are powerful, but they have different utility and will be better in certain situations than others.
Yep. So looks like I did see a Necromancer Lord. Hampus decided to mulligan it. Yeah. So loyalty. I saw loyalty to an evil. That's something we expected. Yeah. I also saw Urgent Messengers in his opening hand, which he's going to play right now. That was from pack 1 that Mike had to pass.
Urgent Message is an excellent card. Draw 2, get 2 human tokens into play. Little 1/1s. Lots of things in the game augment them, but basically just having a couple bodies on the field to block big guys on the ground and to put a little bit of pressure on the table while just increasing your hand size.
Yeah, Urgent Messengers is one of my favorite draw 2s.
And Hasty Retreat gets used as a draw 2. Hasty Retreat, one of the most flexible cards in Epic. Free card that you can use, spend a gold with to draw a card, or you can use it to bounce an attacking champion back to its controller's hand. Brachiosaurus, great answer to those human tokens. You can stomp right over them.
And this was a really heads-up play. I've seen Mike do this weekend as well. Mike played the Brachiosaurus and then passed with his gold up. Yeah. It puts a lot of pressure on Hampus, and Hampus actually just drew. Yeah. So in that scenario, Mike played an 8-12 breakthrough as a 0.
Yeah. Advanced players will use gold control a lot, and we see the power of the Ravager here coming down.
Yeah, Reaper coming also down. The other card, I believe, from pack 1. So Hampus taking the Reaper, and that Urgent Messengers, he might have taken an evil card as well and said, I'm going to go right into that, and that's what we saw. I expect his deck to have a lot of evil.
Yeah, Reaper is an excellent answer to a heavy-hitting wild deck. You can reduce all their champions down to 4/4 demon tokens over time. And it's got, with a 9 defense, it's not easy to get off the table.
Right. Yeah. Reaper is a card we also have seen in Constructed. Decks that play Drain Essence, Reaper doesn't shine. But in some of the decks that are here in the top 8, some of the wild decks are not splashing for Drain Essence, and Reaper has been looking really good in those matchups. Angelic Protector, the coin for Mike. Looks like he pointed targeting itself.
Just to get an airborne threat on the table.
And Mike has a lot of those. And we saw him prioritize. I think he took that Angelic Protector over a 0 earlier in the draft.
It's like Draka is firing to draw a card and sweep away.
It's your turn. Yeah, deal 5 damage to each opposing champion and draw a card.
Yeah. And a Feeding Frenzy to finish off the Reaper. That is a powerful. That is a powerful play.
Really showcasing the power of zeros there. That's why when we talk about zeros, we talk about how strong they are.
Yeah.
Being able to finish off the
Now you only have 1 gold for your turn in Epic, so you can make 1 major play, but you can play as many zeros as you like. Now those cards will be significantly less powerful than a card that costs a gold, but they are still quite meaningful, as we saw with the Feeding Frenzy there. It had to be teamed up with damage from elsewhere, but once it was, it just removed that champion.
I'm surprised Mike attacked with the demon before Hampus played his coin. So Mike had played his coin, and Hampus hadn't. The demon can attack, but Mike can also just pass
and see what happens.
It puts a lot of pressure under Hampus. He knows the demon can attack. He maybe wants to draw 2. Mike just went ahead and very aggressive, attacked with the demon, but Hampus has the ambush Master Zo. And Mike's going to use the fumble here to not lose the demon.
Yeah, it seems like he probably wanted the recycle, wanted to get 1 card deeper in his deck, so he he just sort of threw the demon into the pit, knowing that he had some defense available for him.
And that's again, he's played multiple zeros. Mike has this turn, and so he's able to recycle.
Now the Master Zo coming in, putting out some pressure, trying to get Mike to use his coin, use his gold up first.
Yeah, both Mike and Hampus prioritizing all of these ambush champions. These players are both incredible, and the power of ambush champions really shines at the top level. So it looks like Mike went ahead, took the damage from the Master Zo. He values his not playing his coin first over his life total at this point.
And at 29, he had a bit of a cushion.
Exactly.
It can go down fast in Epic, but
Roxa.
Oh,
this was that
adding some demons. And do you think we have a loyalty here? Probably not worth it, even if he has it.
He very well has it. To deal 2 damage to each opposing champion, but if he doesn't have anything to follow up, like a Wolf Spite or a Flame Spike against that demon, there's no reason to reveal.
Very little reason to reveal cards from his hand.
And that's actually what I love about Roxa. It can be a loyalty 2 card, but it's also just 18 power, 18 attack over 3 champions.
And we saw the lightning come out to put Roxa into the discard pile, but his demon friends are still in play. So we have we gained 2 4/4s on the board there.
Yeah, Lightning Storm is definitely a card really early when I was playing. I thought, oh, this card is just so powerful. It keeps coming back. It keeps coming back. But as players have played more and more as well, prioritizing cards like Guilt Demon, Keeper of Secrets, Heinous Feast, Amnesia, Erratic Research, there are ways to get that Lightning Storm out of the discard pile. And Hampus very well has 1 or 2 of those in his deck.
And the plays that are coming down for a gold every turn in Epic are so powerful. If you take a turn off to get a card back, it's great, but your opponent's going to do some very powerful stuff while you're fishing that card out of your discard pile. So
you better be ready to block and have some kind of defense. And usually it comes back just in time if
Hampus takes the damage. Nice. We see the Knight come down.
Yeah, Knight of the Dawn.
Knight of the Dawn come down and take out a demon, doing his job.
Yeah, Knight of the Dawn showcasing its power level here. New card from Pantheon. It's already a 6/3 with Blitz. If you get a demon with it, even a zombie, but if you get a demon, it's got to feel really good.
That's sweet. All right, so another very powerful free card. Brave Squire coming down to answer the Knight.
And that's a Brave Squire able to target itself. So it became a 6/1 unbreakable until the end of turn. And dealt with the Knight of the Dawn.
We see the big Minotaur hitting the table. This is basically the Minotaur's revenge. The Minotaurs have been taking a beating in Epic for a while, always being the target of nasty event cards, and Brack, he's just not taking it anymore.
Hampus actually, he's at 18. He was, to get the loyalty 2 for the draw effect and the unbreakable effect, Rage was also shown, so
that has to be pretty scary.
Yeah, that's 18. So Hamp is very, very aware. If he has a board wipe, or if he has some way of dealing with this Brack on his turn, he's under a lot of pressure.
And it also showcases the weakness of loyalty. Having to show your opponent that you've got a Rage in hand, that is never a good thing.
Yeah.
But the effect he's getting from the loyalty is powerful. And coming out with another free card here, this turn has a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Mike prioritized those zeros. He took that Knight of the Dawn and the Thrasher Demon in the same pack, and you are seeing the pressure that they are putting on Hampus right now. Hampus decided to draw 2 with the Heinous Feast, but he does have an answer, at least maybe for that Lightning Storm. Something he knows.
And once your health total gets low enough, Lightning Storm does become quite scary.
Right. It's a threat. Hampus
still being aggressive.
This is interesting. I actually saw this. This looks like a really strange attack, and Mike might be thinking, well, what kind of pump, or what are you going to do if I just block with the Brack? I saw Angel of Death in Hampus's hand, and we see this a lot. There's if you know you need to board clear.
Yep.
And you're going to do it. There's no reason not to attack with the few champions you have. Maybe they don't block.
Yeah. And
Mike's picking up on it, though.
Yep.
And yeah, he does go with the block. We could very well see Hampus just say, okay, Master Zoe is down. Oh, actually, we could get him back up on the screen. I forgot his ability. Yeah, but either way, it's...
So yeah, Master Zoe just lives through from this unbreakable.
Right.
But there's a good chance a player lets that through. And
yes, and maybe Mike's worried about his Brack, and he just says, actually, I'll take 9, I'll go to 11. He chose not to.
And here's where Master Zoe's getting in the fight really helps with this because now he's unbreakable, staying on the table. So suddenly, major board advantage for Hampus.
Yep. Yeah, he revealed the no escape as well. So the difference between Rox and Angel of Death, both have loyalty 2 on them, but you can just play the demons and have a lot of attack on the board. With Angel of Death, that's something you most likely you don't want to play without the loyalty 2.
Yes.
Its power level goes so far up with it.
Yeah,
obviously.
see, that's a card where with loyalty, amazing game changer. Without loyalty, an underpowered airborne champion. You can still sometimes make the difference, but it really needs the loyalty to shine.
And that was really a huge swing.
Mike's down to 3 cards. He's facing off against Master Zoe and the Angel, just going for the dome here, I assume, with 4 points of damage from the Pyromancer.
So I'd say Hampus is slightly ahead, both in cards and on the board, but Mike is trying to craft together a way to burn him out.
Yeah, he's close. He's tenuously low on health, so it's got to be tempting to block with the Angel here, even though the Angel would lose the fight. Just protecting your health total and keeping your coin up is a tempting scenario. But you have to keep enough on the board to actually come back and win this game. So.
Yeah, this is a really tough choice for him because he knows about the Lightning Storm and the discard pile as well,
and the Rage in hand.
Right.
So he knows how small a number that 11 health is.
Yeah. And the attack will force Hampus to play his coin first, bitten on his opponent's turn. Mike will get the zombie.
Okay, so let's see if Mike has anything he can capitalize on this with. He's got a coin available. His opponent has 1 blocker up. Doesn't look like he has any big ambush champions to go with, so he's just pulling back the Lightning Storm, giving himself some options.
But because Hampus is at 11,
and the zombie
cast
is
out.
down.
That was I don't think we saw that card. So that's one of the first picks for Hampus in the draft. I really like
Cast Out is a great card.
Yeah. And there it is. It's a new card from Pantheon. Put 2 human tokens into play. Banish target champion with defense less than or equal to the number of humans you haven't played.
And he, of course, has the Master Zoe, so 3 humans. And so it was enough to deal with the zombie.
Yeah.
So that play, the zombie wasn't much of a threat on its own. That play was very aggressive. It's saying, I want to clear your board so I can get Master Zo in there or force you to use your coin.
Yep. Now, Mike did actually have the Revolt, which we expected him to use more as a draw to, but showcasing that it has versatility. Just used it as I don't want to take the 9 there from the Master Zo. I'll play the 0. I'll chump block.
Yeah.
But I haven't played my coin yet, and that's exactly what Mike did. Now here comes the Angel of Death.
Yeah. And I think he's just going to be taking this damage.
Yep. It's close. So Hampus is at 11. If Hampus was at 13, this game would be quite different than it is. But Hampus at 11, he has the Lightning Storm in his hand. He can 6 to his face if Mike can survive another full turn cycle where he can return it and Hampus doesn't have any life gain.
That would be a
really
heavy
close.
Commitment and a big gamble from Mike. But
the question is, can he hang on that long?
It is a path to victory.
And he's got to decide that right now. I'm not sure if he can.
He's looking for a good card champion in his discard pile, seeing what his options are with that Angel.
Yeah.
So basically, Mike could kill Hampus before Hampus's next attacks would get through. On his next turn, would get through by dealing 6 damage now with the Lightning Storm, then pulling back the Lightning Storm in his turn, and then when Hampus makes his first attack on his next turn, before damage, doing the Lightning Storm again. But any health gain for Hampus would make that plan suicide.
And Mike here, he's behind on board. He needs to play this Angel of Mercy before Hampus has played his coin. It's not something that he wants to do, but he feels like I'm so far on the back foot I have to. Hampus had, of course, revealed the no escape from loyalty earlier. He plays it on his turn. He breaks the Angel, and then because it was his turn, he's able to return a champion card from his discard pile to his hand. Chose the Reaper.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah. No escape. A newer version of cards you might already know, like Bitten and Inner Demon, but has that same effect. Much more powerful if you choose to play the event on your turn.
But yeah, unlike Bitten, it can't kill a champion on. If you can, but it's very dangerous.
So Scaros comes down. The humans are off from the 2 damage. Hampus goes to 9.
But we know he's got the ability to reduce that down to a demon with the Reaper.
We do.
But it did get a little pressure off the table and do a couple points of damage, which may prove to be critical.
Oh, this is one of my new favorite cards out of Pantheon. Yeah. Dirge of Skara. Evil's Ancient Chant, as I've been calling it. Dirge, just a draw 2. But if it leaves the discard pile for any reason, you also get a 4/4 demon. Yeah. That can happen through recycling or even you recalling it. Or your opponent
banishing your discard file.
I was going to say the power of amnesia as well.
There are definitely some amnesia punishers in the new set.
Yeah. So
Master Zo coming in and getting blocked.
So I guess
Hampus really wanted to keep his coin available, not play the Reaper and get that reduced first. Such a tight game, 6-9. Oh,
I was going to say, he does know all of Mike's hand because of the loyalty off of Scaros. So
Mike has no choice here but to draw 2 with his Rage and hope for a free champion that can save him from this assault. And he might have gotten one. At last look, I think he got a Brand in his hand. A Brand has a defense of, I believe, 5?
It's a 2/5. He would go to...
So that would bring him down to 2.
Yeah.
So Brand was exactly what he was looking for. Now, if the loyalty here would be great, he does not have it. Let's see if Hampus has an answer for this.
Oh, the Flame Spike is exactly enough. Wow, that was a really great game.
2 points damage with a Flame Spike.
Hampus was way ahead. Mike was trying to make the lightning storm work, but Hampus kept enough pressure up and was able to take Mike out. That still was a really close game. Yeah. And Hampus turned the corner with the Master Zo attack into the Angel of Death. Yeah. That was the big play for Hampus. He took the lead there and he kept the pressure on.
Exactly, and that combination of Unbreakable this turn with the break all effect, one of Evil's favorite tricks.
Oh, yes.
But this time pulled off with
recruiting Master Zo. So we're going to switch over to our backup match.
So we've got Sam Black versus James Moreland. They are in game 1 here. And looks like we've got some Evil versus Wild on the table, although there's quite a bit of Good and Sage in Sam's discard pile.
Yeah, I think I saw a hunting. Yeah, that's a hunting raptors in Sam's hand and a Brachiosaurus on James's side of the board. So there might have been a lot of wild. I've seen this happen before. There can be 2 players playing loyalty to wild cards and in the same draft.
With the growing number of epic cards in an epic draft set, you can end up with just through sheer chance having some factions, some alignments more represented than others in the cards you have to draft with, and you have to be flexible and be able to deal with those changes.
Yep. Yeah, this game looks very close, very even. Both players with plenty of cards in hand.
So we don't have the advantage of seeing James's discard pile because it looks like it recently got amnesia.
Yes. Yes.
But the health scores are close. The boards, obviously James has a slight board advantage here with heavier hitters, but Sam does have 14 points of token offense on the table. So
I'm guessing that.
Okay, we'll be switching back to the main match now, and Hampus and Mike Sigrist, Hampus Eriksson and Mike Sigrist entering game 2. Looks like we had a 3-card mulligan from Hampus and a 2-card mulligan from Mike, making their starting scores 27 Hampus, 28 Mike. And
so because Mike lost, he got to choose if he wanted to be on the play or the draw. Most competitive players choosing to be on the draw with Epic. So Hampus on the play, actually one of the best establishing aggressive things you can do.
All right, I'm on the play here is 18 points of offense on the table.
Exactly. You'll see people play, Raging T-Rex, Triceratops, Roxa, Winter Fairy. These are all, they're different for different reasons, but these are cards people like to play. We've seen consistently played before their opponent plays a coin because of their power level on an empty board.
I'll just put a significant threat out. Now, you can pass on your first turn, but that's a dangerous thing to do because basically you're giving your opponent the play with 1 extra card in hand.
And Mike actually has the answer. Flames of Furios. One of my favorite cards out of Pantheon. We've seen it both in constructed and limited.
That was a powerful answer. Took out the board and did 3 points of damage.
Yeah, basically acted like a hurricane, but also dealt 3 to Hampus. This card punishes people for going wide.
Yes.
Against the zombies and the human decks. If your friend's playing a zombie deck that keeps beating you, put these 3 Flame of Furos in, and
that'll change things quickly. So that's a scenario where one of those bigger individual champions hitting the table and drawing him cards would have served Hampus better, but. And the Blue Dragon coming down from Mike. That's a nice card. Do a little bit of damage or control the board a little bit. Get a significant airborne threat on the table. Not huge, but and draw a card at the same time. That gets answered by one of the favorite pieces of removal in Epic, the Drain Essence.
Drain Essence. So Mike playing the Blue Dragon as his establishing champion, but again, Hampus had the answer. And Drain Essence, one of the most powerful cards. It's been one of the most powerful cards in Epic for a long time. And very well maybe Hampus's first pick, which would explain 100% why he took that Reaper as his second pick and just said, "I'm going all the way in."
So Flame Spirit. This is quite a star for Wild. Draws a card when it comes into play. 11/9, so very significant ground threat, and with the ally ability to deal 4 points of damage to target champion. So it represents quite a bit of control.
I don't expect a lot of a wild out of Hampus' side, but especially if I have the Drain Essence already in my deck, I like Fire Spirit a lot more.
Yeah.
And just as 11-9 that replaces itself and say, you know, deal with this.
Let's see what it look. I think I saw a Brachiosaurus in Mike's hand. That'll be a likely play for his turn, depending on what wild options he has to go with it. So, looked like there was a Hound in his hand. Is that a Brack there? I believe it is.
We might see Brachiosaurus into Brock the Fist of Lashna. That's what he's deciding right now. If he does that, though, he makes his Skaros weaker. So I think that's a lot of the decisions he's trying to make right now is, you know, is this what I want to do? And he does. Yeah.
And it's hard for him to pass with a Brachiosaurus here because of the fact that there's that Fire Spirit on the table.
Exactly. You'll see Mike, he's also playing Brachiosaurus in his constructed deck, and you'll see him play it differently. If he's ahead, he'll play the Brachiosaurus and usually just pass.
Yeah.
If he thinks the board is even or maybe slightly behind, he will play the Brachiosaurus usually into another wild coin, and that's exactly what he did there. Oh, Zealous Necromancer.
Drawing a card whenever a non-zombie champion is broken, Hampus will get a zombie token.
Yeah.
So this card can really give you quite the swarm on your side of the table, and might make Mike wish he had that Flames of Furio still in his hand.
I was going to say, when I first evaluated this card, I really didn't think it was as powerful as it was, but Gabriel Kostajomi beat me multiple times in drafts and really proved the power level of Zealous Necromancer. He believed in it, and it really is way more powerful than it might look.
Yeah.
It really is. So.
So some getting more card advantage again with that no escape.
And getting that, I think, this is on his turn. So not only picking up a zombie with his Zealous Necromancer, but he should be able to pick that Rocks up from his discard pile as well.
Yeah. Some really, really nice recursion effects there.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the strength of evil.
Is he not picking up the Roxa? Was this on? It might have been on Mike's turn.
But then Mike would get to pick up.
Oh, okay. It just took him a second.
Yeah.
Maybe he was checking life total or something. Yeah.
Sure.
There's the Roxa.
Yeah, so no escape can be played on your opponent's turn, but you really don't want to. And you
have to be desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now Mike has the coin available. I think he's probably going to take out that Necromancer with the Pyromancer.
Yeah, got to get that off. It really does
clean things up with a little bit of fire there, and Necromancer goes down, ending the stream of zombies
before they started. Yeah.
So both players with high health totals, powerful boards, and significant hands at this stage of the game. So this is really anybody's game.
Their decks are performing really well, and each one of them has just had the answer for each major threat that each other's played. So
now Hampus has to be feeling good having that game 1 win. Worst case scenario, he's going into constructed with an even 1-1 matchup.
Exactly.
But if he can pull out this game, he will put Mike in a situation where he has to sweep constructed 3-0.
Right.
No small task.
Yeah. So he's got the Peros and the Silver Dragon. If he wants to play the Silver Dragon, I think deciding whether to play that Peros first or not. Mike's just, there's a lot of decisions. It's so incredible. I mean, he could start by attacking. I think might just bypass, just go straight for the Silver Dragon, not overextend his hand at this time. Yeah, and that's what he does. Even just taking out a zombie there, regardless, just the power of Silver Dragon, the 9/8 airborne in the air, plus the draw effect.
Interesting that he chose to attack after playing the Silver Dragon with the breakthrough of the. I guess he didn't want a team up of the token plus the Fire Spirit actually killing his Brachiosaurus.
Right.
So just clearing the way for the Brachiosaurus, even though his opponent has the gold and could potentially punish him for this attack. He still has a good board presence, even if he loses the Brachiosaurus. All right, Master Zo comes down. So it looks like a double block coming that will kill the Brachiosaurus and not lose anything on Hampus' side of the table unless Mike wants to potentially add a rage to the mix. That would wouldn't save his Brachiosaurus, but it would get rid of the Fire Spirit, which seems like it might be well worth doing.
Yeah, again this turn, Mike played his coin and then attacked with the Brachiosaurus. Maybe he feels he needs to be aggressive in this matchup, but something else I see a lot of players do is just playing the Silver Dragon and then passing to your opponent.
Sure. Again,
it actually it's a strange nuance, but it puts your pressure on a lot.
With that rage in hand, he had some safety there. Like, okay, great, you got rid of my guy and used up a free card, but I got a major threat off the table, and I was able to put some more pressure on you swinging with that Pyromancer, which I otherwise could not have done.
Yeah, right.
I think there's a good chance Mike just takes the 9 points here from the Master Zo. Master Zo is very hard to deal with in combat situations. With his unbreakable in combat, he is tough to deal with.
Yeah, Mike needs to be looking for a different answer to that card.
And again, we see the Master Zo Angel of Death combination. Hampus had to be thinking about this when he drafted those cards.
I haven't seen these two together actually before, and to see it twice, I mean, it's been pretty incredible.
It is very, very powerful, and this is what we're talking about, where getting those synergies in draft, having a game plan for your deck as you're drafting can be a huge factor.
Right.
It's a given that both players are going to be able to do powerful things. Yeah, so the tricks and the synergies that you're able to put together in your deck make all the difference.
Yeah, and with this many cards, it's not intuitive to think, oh, I drafted Master Zo 20 picks ago. This Angel of Death is really good. I mean, every card had the synergies, the combos.
Surprise attack. This could really turn this game around.
Yes. And Mike needed it here. Sure.
Unfortunately, not enough to kill any champions, but getting some damage in.
But also the pressure of Scaros being able to attack right away.
Big dog on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, that showcasing the power of surprise attack. Scaros is super powerful, but it doesn't have ambush. You're not allowed to play it on your opponent's turn. Surprise attack says, actually,
yes,
I can.
You can.
So this Scaros, the Scaros will be able to attack right away, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mike, before playing his coin, just chooses to do so, really putting the pressure on Hampus.
Yeah, or I believe he has the ability to sweep his opponent's hand and sweep the Angel away and draw a card with the Flames if he has it in hand.
Or I think he also has Draka's Fire in his deck.
Draka's Fire,
yeah, we could see that as well. Get rid of the Angel of Death, draw a card, but just choose to go with the attack. The Angel of Death's already done a lot of work. He can just choose to chump block to not take the 11, and he very well may, simply to make sure he doesn't use his coin first. But we'll see.
He may decide that 12 health is enough and stay aggressive here.
It looks like he also has the cast out. You can even play that as a 0, just and then block with one of your humans. Have a couple chump blocks against him. I think he's one loyalty shy of being able to loyalty to the Rift Summoner that he revealed off the Angel of Death in his hand right now. It looks like he is, because he's got the cast out and the Juggernaut.
So looks like he's getting back
This is it. This is the combo. We talked about it when we drafted it. Final tasking that Brack back into play.
14 points of offense coming in, unbreakable, and unblockable by anything smaller than a 14. You better hope you have the ability to banish or bounce this guy, as he is very, very tough to deal with in this scenario.
Hampus doesn't have anything. He's drawing 2 with his cast out. He's looking for a 0. He doesn't have it.
So not blocking that 11 came back and
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm still just, that was incredible.
A stunning play for sure.
Yeah.
So going down from a very safe health total to suddenly, suddenly down in the threat zone. So I am going to be stepping out for C.J. Moynihan, who is going to be commentating on the constructed portion of this match as the two players move into constructed.
Yes.
That was an incredible draft and a great 1-1 result.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Rob. Yeah, that as CJ comes into the booth, just to reiterate, the Masters go into the Angel Death just like Game 1, but the surprise attack for the Scaros into the final task for Brock the Fist of Lashnoth. What an incredible finish from Mike, and they're going into constructed 1-1. Welcome, CJ.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so we're looking at what appears to still be Game 1, Sam Black versus James Moreland. These two decks must be so well matched against each other. We haven't seen much of this. We're just coming into it, so let's see where they are. Sam at 6. I can't see their hands keeping them close. I think Sam has initiative.
Sam's really going to need to deal with those two champions in play on James' side of the field.
Yes. Yeah. Where's your plague?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. High King, similar to Necromancer Lord and other repeatable effects. Very powerful right when they come down if you have that loyalty to. If they stick around, things get out of control.
Right. But with Revolt here, he might just be threatening lethal. Is that a battle cry we have at the front of his hand?
It is. Wow. So it looks like Sam, in his strategy, at least for what we can see, going wide, has battle cry, has Revolt.
So right now, just on the board, Sam threatens 13, right? Because all of his humans have 3 attack.
Yes. And there's the battle cry. We came right in for this. So, Sam's saying, I'm attacking for lethal this turn. What do you got, James?
Yep. James is counting it up. So
battle cry's another +3/+3. And
yep,
I think James said, wow. We came right into that. I know we just saw the very end, but Sam looks like he took Game 1 there. Mm-hmm. We're going to switch back over to Mike Sigrist versus Hampus Eriksson. Now, we're moving into the constructed portion for this. So I have their deck list in front of us, and we've seen Mike Sigrist. We saw him in round 6 win his winning in. Mm-hmm. He is playing a wild Sage deck. Not as aggressive as you can be, could have way more burn, playing cards like Kong. He's playing the new Brack the Fist of Lashnoth. He's got some Scaros. But he still has the traditional wild cards we've seen, Strafing Dragon, Draka's Enforcers, and Draka's. He's playing against Hampus Eriksson, who this is a new deck. I mean, for us here. And this was the Pluck University. Hampus is part of that with Tom Sorenson. 2 of them made it into the top 8. And the 5 players that were playing it this weekend out of the 32, it's like a 3-color, super aggressive or can be super aggressive pump deck.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to see how this matchup will play out. Hampus Eriksson has cards like 3 Rages, 3 Go Wild, 3 Brave Squire. These pump effects.
Yeah, it's really nice to see 2 players facing off, both with wild decks, but not having very much overlap at all with their decks. I mean, sure, they're both playing surprise attack. They both have Draka. They both have Raging T-Rex. But, or actually, it doesn't even look like, oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah, they both do.
Yeah, but, they're both playing really interesting choices. Mike's playing Feeding Frenzy and Lightning Strike. Those are both cards that we don't see a lot in the lists that we've seen so far. And, the choice to play multiple Kongs, to play a Hurricane, and, focus more on the long game with Mike's deck is very different than Hampus's all-in style on a champion. All you need to do is get 1 through, and if your opponent doesn't have a Hasty Retreat, Erase, or a Spore Beast, then you're basically in the clear.
Yeah, so these 3 Erase from Mike Sigrist I feel are very important for him. He's going to know this deck list he knew he was going to play against. He doesn't have the hasty retreats that we see in a lot of other decks here in the top 8, though. So Mike does have to be really careful. To one of the other, or two of the other cards from Pantheon, which I know you were a huge, one of the lead designers for this set, and obviously I love asking you questions about it. We've been doing it all weekend, but Lashnos Will and Force Lance, Lance, two new cards that Hampus has in his deck. I just feel like these cards are really, really shaking up the metagame here. And tell us about Lashnos Will. If no one was listening yesterday, how exciting wills are and how different they are to the game.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, Lashnos Will is kind of like Brachiosaurus in the sense that you can play it, and it does cost a gold, but it doesn't count. It doesn't really count as spending a gold for the turn because you get an extra gold to spend, and this is really important for Hampus's deck because most of the time this is going to be, a 1-cost slot because, most of your cards have to be 1 cost, but it lets you, deal 5 damage effectively or win a fight between 2 champions without actually spending your golds.
Yeah, so Hampus's deck, I think more than Hampus and Tom Sorenson's deck, more than any deck in the top 8, they've got 3 Misguide Heralds, they have 3 Brachiosaurus, they have 2 Lashnos Wills. There's so many coins that you're going to see Hampus play that play out like zeros, and we're going to see it right away.
Right. And so here's a great example of why the Lashnox Wills and other buffs are good in the deck because, just looking here, we have Lashnox Heralds, Herald of Lashnox, and the Silverwing Guardian. Those are both great targets because the Heralds right here has it can dig 3 cards, so that means that it's kind of like a Triceratops in the sense that it draws you a card, but as long as your deck is mostly that faction, you get that filtering aspect. You get to look at 3 cards, and you're almost always going to want to grab a 0-cost card with that.
Yes.
Because basically it lets you do something. It lets you get around that gold to tempo issue.
Exactly. And we saw it, basically, a Herald into a Herald to start the game. This is turn 1 on the play, and Hampus already putting a ton of pressure. Looks like their life total changed for mulligans from earlier, but...
Right, so Hampus, it looks like he's considering pre-buffing before attacks, or even if to attack at all. I mean, the main reason why he wouldn't want to attack would be if he's worrying about, like a surprise attack to large champion, or even just a 6 attack, I guess, like a Silverwing Guardian or something like that.
And there's we'll probably see it as well, especially against the evil decks later that run Drain Essence. You will see these wild decks pump before attacks because they have the initiative and they can attack and pump it before the opponent can Drain Essence it or things like that. So you will see those that kind of nuance play out with pump spells as well. Mike's going to lead with Thought Plucker.
Right, so...
And very few in the top 8. Not nearly as many as I expected, but still incredibly powerful card. Even Hampus, who is part of Pluck University, not having them in his deck.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how, okay, so it looks like Hampus is going all in here on his board. If Michael has a way to clear, then it's bad news, and he is running 1 Hurricane. But, as a wild deck, Michael is not going to have a lot of ways to actually deal with lots of champions on the board, so might as well, try and get that advantage whenever you can.
Yeah, very aggressive start from Hampus. Mike with the Brack.
Yes,
he's just deciding what to loyalty here.
Brack's a little bit interesting because he's putting himself in a situation where he already is taking 9 in the air that brings him down to 12 if he does nothing to react.
Right. Back to Hampus's turn. A very aggressive start for Hampus, but ahead on board has less cards than Mike. It's always a difficult balance. he will know Mike's deck list though, so we very well in these games in constructed see Hampus say, I know you have one Hurricane, but there's a lot of times, especially if Mike's already played his Hurricane, that Hampus is going to feel very safe to what would normally maybe be perceived as overextending. So he leads with the Misguide Herald. Mike takes it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised here if he just gets in all of his airborne damage first, and then tries to figure out what he's going to do about that Herald of Lashnock there.
Yeah, Mike did reveal the Draka's Enforcer off of the Brack Fist of Lashnoth, so Hampus can attack with that Strafing Dragon, see if he can, and that's what he does, see if he can bait Mike into playing his coin first. You would think, hey, a 7-7 beats a 6-6. Why not do that, Mike? But Mike doesn't want to play his coin first. He chooses to do it here, though. He says, you know what, I need to. I'm behind on board. And he's going to force Hampus's hand now.
Right, and of course, Michael, probably that's the play he's going to make at the end of his turn. As if, if Hampus just passed, or if Hampus didn't have a gold to spend there and passed, then effectively Michael's plan would still be to play the Draka's Enforcer.
And if he realizes that during combat, then, and that's what he did, he went with the Draka's Enforcer. Hampus, Brave Squire, target champion gains Unbreakable and +5 attack this turn. The Strafing Dragon survives, and that Draka's Enforcer is gone. So Hampus continuing to put the pressure on.
Yeah, and of course, when you have a lot of buffs in your deck, and you're both, actually getting into combat, those buffs can really get a lot of value. That Brave Squire there effectively just broke the Draka's Enforcer and made a human token.
Right.
While saving the Strafing Dragon.
And Hampus playing Raging T-Rex, an all-star, with the loyalty to, which he had obviously 2 cards left in his hand after the Raging T-Rex. Drawing 2 cards, it has 10 defense against the Hurricane, which means it won't go down, but ultimately just continuing to put the pressure and drawing cards.
So it looks like he's thinking here, Michael's in a pretty safe position to block normally because the Lash is not a big deal. See, the Herald of Lashnock has 6 health. He has a Lightning Strike in his hand. So if Hampus goes for the Lash there, then Lightning Strike just kills it.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why I put CJ in the booth. The insight. You usually call the play. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So, no, you're absolutely right. That does seem like that was the best play.
It's interesting, because Hampus knew that Michael had the Lightning Strike. So if he was just trying to get him to call his bluff, but I feel like Michael was put in a position where there was no way he couldn't not make that block there.
Right.
He's at 18. He has another Lightning Strike if he really needs to use it. And there's no way he's winning if he takes 8 here and then doesn't have some obscene amount of pushback on the following turn.
Yeah. Very well played by Mike. The Lash dealing that 1 damage, the Lightning Strike finishing it off before combat so that Brack survived.
A lot of people forget about it. I mean, the number of times I've Drain Essenced a T-Rex.
Oh, right, exactly. Right after a Lash. Yep.
Yeah.
Or a Triceratops, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like, I'm thinking he has to go in here because, so that brings him down to 14, right? So it's kind of a tricky situation because even if he gets in with the Strafing Dragon, that brings Hampus down to 3. And Mike doesn't have a whole lot of burn for him to pull out of his deck.
I feel like
in fact, I don't think he could kill Hampus at all. Yeah, he has to clear the board here.
Yep, so Strafing Dragon, loyalty to another Lightning Strike to finish off the Raging T-Rex.
Right, and so
Mike has really stabilized.
Yeah, no, I actually like this play a lot.
Yeah, he was really quite behind, but you see here stabilizing there with the Strafing Dragon. Both of those Lightning Strikes have been really strong, and Hampus has to take a turn off the aggression because he's running out of cards. Goes with the draw 2 for the Lashnoth's Will.
Right, and Michael's actually threatening lethal on his turn. He's saying if you can't remove my my Brock and Fist of Lashnock, and if you can't kill me, then I'm just going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right, and so Michael's mostly worrying about his health total, not really worrying about, dealing with the champions. He knows that he is in a position to win right now, and so that means that he mostly just has to worry about dying over anything else.
And think about the difference. Hampus mulliganing 2 cards versus mulliganing 1 card.
Right.
Would be at 29 instead of 28. Again, the tiny, tiny nuances of the game. And I hear people talk about it like, did I need to mulligan that card? It cost, I could have been at 1.
Yeah.
I love hearing those stories. Always a tough decision.
And so it's interesting that Michael is put in a position, or Hampus is actually not in a good position to use his buffs here because Michael has his gold up. And he knows that. That's why he's playing so conservatively. If anything that gets buffed, doesn't matter if it's Brave Squired or Force Lanced or anything like that, but the erase can stop it.
Right, and we see that erase in Mike's hand, yeah. And I like we said it before the match, holding on to that erase for when Hampus ever tries to go for the big combo play.
And honestly, given the spot that Hampus has been placed in by that 14 unblockable champion, unless, assuming he doesn't have any way to clear it in his hand, I would not be surprised if he went with some kind of blitz champion and tried to just win by buffing it to lethal right now. Okay.
So not many choices there. I think that was just
was the only
Brachiosaurus.
choice,
Yeah, pretty easy choice.
Also, if Michael knows Hampus's deck, that was a lot of his burn because that was the... I think there was the flame spikes. There are 2 flame spikes in that pile. All right, so at this point, I think Hampus...
I think he's looking. He has that Brack in his hand.
Right.
And that card can block an opposing Brack without pumps.
Exactly.
And if he doesn't have anything else, I think he has to play that if he doesn't think he can win on the aggression. And I don't think he can. I think he's going to go with the Brack here. He doesn't.
Well, he might have a surprise attack in his hand. Oh, no, he doesn't. It's interesting. If he brings him down to...
I don't know what Hampus's plan is here. Mike hasn't played his coin yet, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, maybe he's thinking the only thing that gets him out of this is a race. Because if he knows Mike's deck pretty well, there's just no real answers that he has to the... he can't play Hurricane because the Hurricane kills his own Brack.
Oh, now it does from the Draka, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, basically, at this point, he has to either have a surprise attack Kong, another strafing dragon. He's already played 1, a race, or he could use Draka's Enforcer to chump, and that's it. Those are the only outs in his deck. He's already played 2 lightning strikes.
But I don't think that last card is surprise attack in Hampus's hand. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen it. But the erase here, and the Brack attacking next turn seems...
Right. Well, it could also be some kind of pump that, if that is a Brave Squire, he could just be going for lethal.
Exactly. And that's what Mike has to be thinking of.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that. And now with Mike knowing 2 of the 3 cards in Hampus's hand, he's got to think, is it surprise attack? And Hampus digging. He played his coin to draw.
So the only thing that he needs that to be a pump that has recycle, and then draw another pump.
Right. It could be a Force Lance, right? So he Force Lance.
It could be a Force Lance or go wilds.
Right. Into like
any other pump. Flame Spike. Yeah. So it has the Flame Spike here. He's just considering whether it's possible for him to kill the whether it's going to be relevant, whether or not it hits that.
Right.
Yeah. He needed double. He needed to run around the pumps.
And I guess Hampus was so far behind, even though it looked like, hey, you could just, play the Brack, and you have a Brack to block his. It wouldn't have worked out. We knew Mike had the erase as well. So,
right.
Wow. Brack really showing the power level. The Fist of Lashnoth just taking over that game. Mike was, because of those 2 lightning strikes, he was able to stabilize, and Hampus going for the lash. That was a really big turnaround.
It's interesting. Michael just played Brock. He hit twice.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
You mulligan 2 cards. That's it.
And
that's all
that's
I need.
As much pressure as Hampus could put, Mike was able to basically hold it off, hold off the airborne as much as possible. And 2 turns after it came down, Brack, the Fist of Lashnoth, won game 3 for Mike.
Yeah, and also the other thing that you have to worry about when you're playing Brock, I'm not sure how well Hampus knows Mike's deck, but his Brock, if he pumps it, wouldn't be able to be blocked by the opposing Brock.
Oh, right. Yeah. I do want to see a pump war sometime today.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
18. This again, go wilds of the rages, make it so they can block again.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, it is relevant that if Hampus got in with the Draka, then he had lethal.
Oh,
on
that game
the
was very
turn.
close. Yeah. No, also just Mike being at 14 and attacking with the Draka with knowing there's Brave Squires in Hampus's deck.
Right.
Mike has to respect that at any time quite a lot of damage can come from Hampus. So
Right.
So, not that there was much that Hampus could do differently in that game. He obviously played well. Brock just took him down. What do you think Hampus needs to do in these next 2 games, or what kind of strategy does he need to craft to be able to beat Mike's deck? What cards is he looking for, or which cards is he most likely going to mulligan?
Well, I think he should hold on to his buffs. He should be very conservative about playing his buffs before Michael spent his golds. So I think the plan is get some small things on the board and then just try and force Michael into using his buffs.
Right.
Sorry, his gold first, so that way the way is clear for him to actually start pumping things.
Right. So Hampus needs to put enough pressure, get Mike down to a life total that he doesn't feel comfortable taking damage, force Mike to play his coin first, knowing Mike doesn't have hasty retreats, then go for it.
Right. Yeah. Also knowing that Michael doesn't have a lot of good answers to his righteous champion. He should also be careful about that. I think if he can stagger the righteous champion later rather than earlier in a scenario where, he's able to actually play it and then like pump it for a block or just make a block against something, there's just not a lot of cards in Mike's deck that can remove that champion, and that champion by itself is enough to just win the game for Hampus' side.
Yeah, I would think Silverwing Guardian is a really strong card against the Wild Tech.
Right.
And a reason they put it in there with the Brave Squires. So Hampus holding on to the Silverwing Guardians and hoping that even if he's at a really low life total, he might be able to make a huge swing back with an aggressive Silverwing Guardian with a Brave Squire, which I saw Tom Sorenson do yesterday. Gaining 11, dealing 11 after somebody played their coin. It was backbreaking. So.
Absolutely.
So both players looking at their opening hands. Mike mulliganing 2, and getting ready for game 4 here.
Into a double Brock range.
Yep. The difference between 2 and 1 in this matchup.
It was actually pretty relevant.
Yeah.
Last game, I mean,
the difference.
It was exact.
It was
exactsies.
It was, and I couldn't tell if that was 1 or 2. They were on top of each other.
Like
it was 2.
Yeah.
Wow, both of them risking it with a double Brock range.
I mean, you got to look at your hand and say, well, I can't actually play these cards.
I know. You got to do what you have to do. You can't think about that. So crafting the best opening hand you can. So
also with 11 health, it's going to be pretty hard for anything to actually remove Brock right away. I mean, there's no Kong in Hampus' deck, so that means that if he's going to remove a Brock, he's got his 3 erases. And that's pretty much it. I mean,
unless he found a way to play defensively and pump, so he could.
Right,
that's
right,
like
and that's very risky because he's always going to have to do that while Michael has Michael's gold up. So, yeah, honestly, with Hampus' deck, I think the only other way that Hampus could remove a Brock would be the 1 Fires of Rebellion into like a double Flame Spike or a Flame Spike Flash Fire. And that's just
like
impossible.
Smash and burn into with the Flame Spike. Like he has to really set up something if he wants to get rid of it. So Mike won game 3. So Hampus, as we just saw, it looked like they actually did a draw pass.
Right.
Regardless, the first play, Mike playing that Brachiosaurus, and I talked about it earlier. passing when he's ahead on board with his gold up with Brachiosaurus. He's been doing that all weekend and putting a lot of pressure on his opponent. So Hampus says, I know your deck list. I'm going to draw 2. What have you got? And this can be a Raging T-Rex. It could be a Brock. It could also just be a Strafing Dragon. I mean, Hampus is also risking, taking 11, as much as maybe taking 11 to start this game. But Mike.
Right. So it looks like he's going to play Surprise Attack, probably into Misguide Herald.
Yeah, that was a Misguide Herald he picked up off that, so that could be pretty good.
Unless he has another champion that draws some cards in his hand. It looks like he has a Brock, and he's considering just dropping it down and trying to have the exact game happen that happened last game.
Yep.
But he's looking at that smash and burn in the discard pile, and he knows Hampus doesn't have a lot of ways to actually deal with a Brock. So is it reasonable for me to just ignore playing my Brock until smash and burn gets used out of the discard pile?
He does decide to go with the aggressive. Just I'm playing this Brock, you know.
Deal with it or die.
Right. So that was that was what Mike was deciding. I guess the other line is playing the Misguide Herald, keeping the Brock back, maybe looking for an Amnesia or waiting, like you said. So yeah, turn 1. Hampus chose to draw 2, and Mike puts a pretty significant amount of power onto the board.
Hampus is like, I'll try doing the same.
Looks like, I mean, he can take the Kalani as the 0, but we know he's going to take the Brachiosaurus. That's his only choice.
Slightly better 0.
Yes. Yes. Brachiosaurus is the biggest 0, as I've said this weekend.
Right, and I think we saw the Fires of Rebellion there, so it's going to be very difficult for Hampus to actually...
Interesting.
We saw the Fires of Rebellion in the Misguide pile, I believe, so it's going to be pretty hard for Hampus to actually clear that Brock with damage.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like
so he played the Misguide Herald into the Brachiosaurus, but then Hampus actually decided to pass.
Right, and then
and then Mike actually did something. But Mike could have also just drawn. Yeah. I don't know if he wanted to or not, but especially with the Brack on the board, of course, he chose to muse, and then it looks like he. Hampus played the Trock Enforcer, activating the Smash and Burn to get rid of the muse before Mike could draw a card with it, extra card.
That was an interesting play. I would have thought that he'd want to just start getting in hits with the Brock, but I guess he was thinking, if Hampus passed, that must mean he has a way to deal with Brock out of his hand.
Exactly, right. And Mike said, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to play I'm going to try to kill you right now. He did just Ancient Chant, and then into that muse. Yeah. Regardless, though, Mike is attacking with this, and Hampus under a lot of pressure again. But this time, he has the erase.
He did. Yeah.
An erase.
That was a good read
for
on
both
Michael's
players.
part.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Hampus saying, I mean, I don't care if you attack with that Brock because he has the answer this time. And against these Brocks, all throughout the top 8, erases and hasty retreats are going to be super important.
Yeah. So Michael, seeing that he's going to be a bit behind, he probably just has to replay that Brock and try setting himself up in the same position. I wouldn't be surprised if he took something out with the Feeding Frenzy right now, which is what he's thinking about doing. Maybe even drawing 2 by getting rid of the Ancient Chant and seeing if he can find a Scaros here.
Yep.
Because if he draws 2 and he finds a Scaros, the Scaros can clear away the whole entire board.
That's right.
Because he can Feeding Frenzy the Brachiosaurus.
Yes. He did target with Dual Spite the Draka's Enforcer, which means he could finish that off with the Feeding Frenzy.
Right.
But he does have...
well, I just mean that if he scrapes a Scaros off a draw 2, then he can actually clear off the board.
Right. Immediately goes for the
It's interesting. He went for he used Feeding Frenzy instead of Lightning Strike to kill the Draka's Enforcer. So he actually values the Lightning Strike higher than the Feeding Frenzy here.
He does. That's a really good point. Replays that Brack.
I suppose it's because he has another Feeding Frenzy. Feeding Frenzies can be really awkward in when you have multiple copies in your hands.
Yeah. He does look like he has another one, and still that Lightning Strike, and he reveals those as his 2 cards to Hampus. So Hampus is over there saying, man, Mike, you got so many zeros.
So what's nice about having that is if you attack with Brachiosaurus, you can actually remove whatever block happens and then deal the 8, worst case scenario.
Right. Oh, and he just plays both of them.
That's interesting. I guess he's worried. He's worried about he attacks and then Hampus blocks with Brachiosaurus and then Brave Squires it.
Right.
That's what he's playing.
He didn't want to play around anything. He could have kept those two hidden, attacked first before playing the Brach to see if he could bait him into blocking, but he doesn't want to risk losing his own Brachiosaurus.
Right, and that's why he revealed those two, is because he's just going to play them.
Right.
Generally, I wouldn't want to reveal. I reveal 1-cost cards over 0s.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, Hampus just losing his entire board.
Well, I mean, again, 2 Feeding Frenzies and a Lightning Strike since he's had his turn. So
and a Wolf's Bite.
Right, and a Wolf's Bite. That was recycled. And the Amnesia, so
I guess
Mike
the
has
Wolf token isn't on the board again.
Oh, you're correct. He didn't reach for the Wolf token. Maybe they were looking for tokens, and then we've still been waiting. Oh,
they
right
heard
after
me.
you said it. I'm sure that there was, a couple minutes ago, it was, wait, where's the pile of tokens?
Yeah.
So he's got it now. That was like magic. You just said it and it appeared.
All right, so it's 8 coming in. I guess what Hampus is looking at that Smash and Burn, thinking, can I get away with Smash and Burning the Misguide Heralds and then finding 4 more? Because he could get like a Smash and Burn into a Rage, a Lash, a Go Wild, that kind of thing. Michael's already spent his gold, so if he does Smash and Burn and then finds 4 extra attack, or even a Brave Squire, that would be insane as well. If he can find the 4 extra attack off of the Smash and Burn, then he's in a great spot to remove that. Otherwise, he could play the Strafing Dragon that blocks, and let's see, that's 11 plus 3. Yeah, so Strafing Dragon is not actually enough to clear off the Brachiosaurus. His other option, of course, is taking the 8, but I think he wants to put himself into a position where he can take 1 hit from Brock, because he's just trying to stall the game as late as possible, and then be able to hit back, because he has ways to fight everything, except it's really hard for him to fight the Brock.
Yeah.
Although I think the other reason, so he has a Smash and Burn in his hand and a Strafing Dragon, so that is one of his ways to actually kill a Brock.
And that's why, as powerful as Muse is, I was surprised while under so much pressure that when he Smash and Burned with the second ability on it, the Muse.
Yeah.
Simply because it was in his discard pile. Now, Mike did have an Amnesia, and Hampus does know that Mike has 3 Amnesias, so maybe he said, you know what, I'm not going to try to be greedy with this. I'm just going to make sure I can use it while I can. So, it did pay off.
So it looks like, I'm not sure how many cards Hampus has in his hand. If he can find a way to chuck that Smash and Burn, he might be able to get away with pulling it off on the following turn.
Yeah, he's close after the Raging T-Rex. I think he might be able to. And we've seen that before, being able to do that with even like I've seen Soul Hunters in Limited.
Oh, yeah.
Getting pitched to hand sizes is really powerful. Yeah, he has 8.
Yep. So this is the plan. Chuck, Smash and Burn, and then you can Strafing Dragon off turn to clear the Brock when it swings in. It looks like Michael is trying to figure out how to set up here. Yeah, generally I think you can get. He knows that he has a Smash and Burn in his hand, so he's probably thinking about the number of cards in Hampus' hand. He's going to discard the Smash and Burn. Right. So I gotta find an Amnesia here so I can get rid of that and not just lose my Brock on the swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Drox Enforcer, it's not immediately obvious, but it does actually give Michael 3 health here effectively, because if he spends his gold doing anything else, the Misguide Herald hits him for 3.
Exactly. So back to Mike. Hampus was able to discard the Smash and Burn to hand size.
Right. I think Michael's thinking about digging for Amnesia before attacking.
Yeah, and he had one, but he used it. He used it early, just as more of like a recycle effect, his first one. The second Smash and Burn from Hampus.
Oh, he could Smash and Burn the Brock first.
He could just start by...
I think I like Smash and Burn on Brock a lot.
Yeah. We'd have to see how much pump Hampus has, but that's
I mean,
it's 19.
You need 7. You need a 7 pump on the Raging T-Rex, and he has the second Feeding Frenzy, so he can actually potentially just clear the Raging T-Rex if it gets pumped by something that isn't a Brave Squire.
Yeah.
So
this attack is so dangerous for Hampus.
I guess he's calling Hampus's bluff.
Right. Now, he could have, like you said, he could have pumped before combat.
Yeah.
But Strafing Dragon and Smash and Burn second ability, exactly enough to take care of the Brock.
Maybe think
Hampus got to be feel good about that.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you don't have very many ways to deal with it, and then you have your Strafing Dragon and your Smash and Burn, and that's exact 11. And so I think this match highlights the power of cards like Go Wilds. You know, if Michael had like a Go Wild there, then he would be in a great spot to use it, and he doesn't have any in his deck.
Oh, right.
And not playing it makes it so you don't have any outs to stuff like that. You don't have a 0-cost card that lets you pump out of the way of damage effects that you know your opponent could have.
Oh yeah, Go Wild seems incredible with Brock.
Yeah.
But he has another one.
Right. Yeah.
And
I mean, the other nice thing about Smash and Burn, if Brock was Smash and Burned, is that 11, that would bring Hampus down to 1, which is a really dangerous spot to be at.
Yes. Could Hampus have done anything if Mike had gone for the Smash and Burn pump onto the...
I mean, I'm not exactly sure what's in his hand.
If he didn't have the erase, that would...
Yeah, he would need to pump his Raging T-Rex. He could potentially pump his Raging T-Rex out to be large enough to block.
Right, with Force Lance into recycle into Brave Squire
like,
or something.
Yeah, Force Lance. Yeah, Force Lance, Brave Squire probably.
Yeah.
Or like a Lash recycle, Lash recall Lash.
Right. Yeah. So he definitely could have had answers.
Of course, you know, Lash is if he goes for Lash there, then he's blown out by Feeding Frenzy.
Oh right. Yeah, she already knows his.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
He doesn't know about the second
You're
Feeding Frenzy. So
each attack and defense so important, so relevant in this game.
It's weird. Lash becomes. It's interesting. You don't generally think about Lash on the defense being weak to Feeding Frenzy.
Yeah.
It's like, when would I need to Lash on the defense?
Right. And we haven't seen a lot of Lashes and Feeding Frenzies going up against each other in Constructed, so this is...
and it only matters on the defense.
Yeah. Right, yeah. You can't Feeding Frenzy on your opponent's turn.
Okay, yeah, here comes the Force Lance.
But because of the amnesia earlier, Hampus isn't able to recycle there. He still has a grip of cards, though, so... Still, I think he's happy to use the Force Lance, essentially, to remove that Draka's Enforcer.
Yep.
Very similar to what he did with Brave Squire against it last game.
I wouldn't be surprised if Hampus had another answer to the Brock there. To the second Brock.
Right.
Based on the way he's playing.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm going to win the long game. He's like kind of broadcasting that he's going to win in a couple. He thinks he's going to be in a good position next turn, which means that probably he has, a reliable way to deal with the Brock. I wouldn't be surprised if Hampus had another erase in his hand, or if he had some combination of cards that got rid of the Brock here and put him in a position to not die.
So that wolf token from the wolf spider earlier, very relevant. Putting together enough attack to block the Raging T-Rex that has to attack each turn.
Yeah, and honestly, I never feel too bad if my Raging T-Rex trades with the Brachiosaurus. I mean,
right, it's already done its job.
Yeah, 8/12 breakthrough, pretty scary.
Yeah,
I already drew 2 cards off of my Raging T-Rex.
Exactly.
If you want to remove your other blocker, that's fine with me. Yep, there's the erase.
Oh, awesome. I was going to say, choosing to erase, to get rid of the Brack over the Raging T-Rex makes sense, but he actually has both. He has a way to save his Raging T-Rex and get that Brack.
He drew the Force Lance off of the erase. Yeah.
And that is why, whatever your plan is, and I think we talked about this yesterday, these great players, and what we see is their ability to change their plan or adapt to their plan immediately on the new cards that they just drew.
Right.
And be able to do it quickly, and that's what they're able to do, and that's awesome. I didn't see him off the erase, but
Yeah, it's
power force
interesting
that's there.
seeing how yeah, and I mean it's not a big loss to Hampus if the Raging T-Rex trades with the Brachiosaurus there. It's not the end of the world.
Yep.
It looks like he's going to be playing the Smash and Burn there to try and save the Brachiosaurus. It's not relevant whether the T-Rex dies or not now that it has the...
Right.
Yeah, it looks like he was able to pull it off.
Yeah.
He's still looking for a way to close out this game. Presumably, Michael's new plan is the Brachiosaurus plus the Brock is, enough combat together. So I just have to figure out how to connect with Brachiosaurus, and then, maybe the third time I play Brock, it'll stick.
Yeah. And Hampus, no erases in game 1, 2 erases here in game 2, and it's really kept Mike on the back foot.
Yep.
There is Kalani, another one of the new cards from Pantheon, the 5/5 blitz.
He's playing it defensively here. He could have swung in there for 5.
Right. I think that the card that must both Kalani we have it up here on the screen now. The 5/5 blitz, opponents cannot gain health. Even that second clause in this matchup maybe not being relevant, it's still such a threat, or just something to do when the board is clear. It has a lot of functions.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Michael could do a lot of clearing here by playing a wilds card and hitting off that Smash and Burn. But I think he's really thinking about Misguide Herald because he wants to find a Scaros. This would be a fantastic board for a Scaros. Exactly. He has almost a full grip. If you got a Scaros right now, it'd be... Or I guess he doesn't have a lot of wild cards. It would only be for about 4. But
if you could turn for his one of Hurricane as well, if you could find it.
Yeah, let's see.
I don't think he has it, though.
Right. Well, the Misguide Heralds can only hit... Or Draco would also be quite good.
And he has 2 Draka.
He's counting the number of wild cards in his hand. Unfortunately, with only 4 wild cards, if he hits a Scaros, it won't really deal with the Kalani. I think the Kong is really nice here. Though.
Yeah, the Kong for the Raging T-Rex. He doesn't really need cards.
Right.
Right. If he's low on cards, maybe he takes the Raging T-Rex. But this Kong, maybe the Draka's Enforcer. That's his decision right now.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Kong actually removing the Strafing Dragon as well, just because.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at this
Airborne
point,
is maybe more of a problem. He does have that Misguide Herald now as a block for the Strafing Dragon, but I do think he does have a couple choices here, and he does go with the Airborne.
Yeah.
More of a threat.
Yeah, it's just that. Yep. I mean, we know Hampus doesn't have a lot of big removals, so Michael's basically just saying, oh, I have this Kong here. It's going to block your T-Rex pretty well. If you want to spend more cards to try and win ground fights, that's fine, because right now I'm way ahead on the ground.
And the only reason I actually thought he was going to call in the Raging T-Rex there is because of the Smash and Burn in his discard pile. Yeah. He could also Smash and Burn the Strafing Dragon, but decides, I'm going to hold on to that for later. The Raging T-Rex is not as much of a threat right now. And I really like these 2 Kongs in Mike Sigrist deck. They've been performing really well for him this weekend. Yeah. But here we go. First time in the match, we're getting to see a card that I think could be a really, really big help for Hampus, and that is the Silverwing Guardian.
Right, and so based on him playing it now, I also think it would be interesting if he has, a pump ready, like something that he's going to use it on before he attacks, because he knows the Smash and Burn's in the discard pile. And I don't think he has any way to actually get the Smash and Burn out of the discard pile.
So he could just Force Lance here, recycle right away, before Mike can do anything about it, and then attack.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a buff right before combat starts. Yeah.
And he does it. He does. He Force Lances before Mike has a chance to Smash and Burn the Silverwing Guardian. Recycles, and I'm looking at Mike's hand, and he doesn't have an erase.
Right, yeah.
I mean, this could be tough for Mike here.
I mean, this is what I was talking about, is saving. He had that Silverwing Guardian for a long time, and holding on to it for that turn when you're in a good position to. You don't think your opponent is going to be able to get it out of your hand. Even if he gets erased, it's not like the end of the world as far as erase targets go, because you can gain that 4 health again.
Right.
So you're more worried about just being able to set it up when your opponent can't remove it immediately.
Exactly. And the power of Force Lance. I know you worked on the card. It's so sweet. And it's Sage's Brave Squire.
Right.
But it doesn't bring a token, but you get to recycle. Something important to remember is it only has Unbreakable on your turn.
Right.
Not something you can necessarily use as defensively as you might think, but aggressive. If you're in the aggressive deck and you're looking for more Brave Squire effects, Force Lance is proving this weekend to be very strong.
Yeah. Yeah, and so Hampus just accepts the health gain.
Yeah.
Even if he had a Rage or a Lash, I like that play. He knows that like his health is a really important resource right now, and he has lots of airborne champions, so he's going to start getting in lots of damage in the air.
So Hampus, or Mike blocking with the Misguide Herald.
Yeah, Force Lance isn't going to do it here.
I think Hampus is at 32, correct? We just haven't had that updated life total after
yes,
blocking.
yeah,
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very healthy amount. So right now,
there's our first Last Knox Will of the day.
Yeah. He's looking at that card. Oh, it's Last Knox Will.
Yeah.
All right. So Kong punches in and does. Let's see. That would put the Raging Trex at 2. So that means that Michael's probably going to finish it off with a Lightning Strike at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
But he might draw into a Wolf Spike or a Flame Spike since he's playing both.
Yeah. He has to think about that now. I'm sure he would really like a Wolf Spike right about now. But something we said earlier was Mike played 5 zeros on one turn, I think, earlier in the game. Mike's deck gave him a lot of zeros early, but there's only 20 total, and it's showing now. I don't think he has many left.
I wouldn't be too surprised to see the surprise deck. He doesn't have a lot of He doesn't have a lot of champions in his hand. They all have ambush. So I think what we're going to see is probably like a surprise deck into a Brock, dig for that 2 damage.
So you have 2 draws into trying to find a Flame Spike or a Wolf Spike. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you can also use the Smash and Burn on the Kalani or something.
Yeah. So Hampus, he Last Knox Willed, and then he also played Brachiosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
He still hasn't played his coin.
He still has gold floating, But you can't do nothing with this staring you down.
Right, exactly. And that's the power of Brachiosaurus when you're ahead and you play it and you pass. It just puts that
imagine if, Michael goes for a play here and then Hampus, like smash and burns his Misguide Herald and swings in.
Right. So it looks like Mike, surprise attack. He picked up an Amnesia.
Right.
He does go with the Brock.
Right. He's got to actually do this first.
Right. He has to finish this before he can Amnesia. He will draw a card off the Brock, but he got the Wolf Spike. He found it. Wow. What a big pickup for him.
Yeah.
Yep. So if he can, which I'm sure he will, if he can remember that Raging T-Rex has 13 damage on it, that's an incredible 0 pickup. He also has the Amnesia. He could be deciding if he wants to do that right now to dig a little bit further, but he also has I think he has an Ancient Chant in his discard pile, so.
The main reason he's probably thinking about the Amnesia now is that his opponent's still going to have their gold up, so they could very well just go all in on a champion because Michael's going to have his gold down.
Right.
So that would turn off, Go Wild and the 3 Go Wilds and the 1 remaining Force Lance that he hasn't seen from Hampus yet. He's going to he knows Hampus is going to spend his gold first. So I think he's thinking about the Wolf Spike, but there's no reason to give that away.
Right.
When he's going to be generating an extra 2 offense and defense on the ground from the Wolf Spike.
Exactly. And there's the Herald of Lashnoth. As much as Hampus might want to take that Brave Squire, he cannot.
Yeah.
So he's deciding between the Raging T-Rex and another Herald of Lashnoth right now.
It is a bit of a tough choice. I think,
His hand is
his hand's getting
smaller than it was when he discarded a couple turns ago to the Smash and Burn. So just making sure he'll be safe to refuel if Mike continues to have answers in this game, continues to go long. There it is. It's been a while, but that Raging T-Rex has 13 damage on it from the Kong.
I'm sure Hampus realized that it could die to 2 damage very easily at some point in the turn. All right, so
now what's a big pickup for Mike? Right, from the ancient chant.
And he's still got the 5, but I don't think he has a reason to use it.
So it should be noted. Actually, he's going to pick them back up. I was about to say those aren't in play.
Right. It's interesting he didn't decide to go in with the misguided heralds. Hampus.
Yeah. Right. You don't usually want to attack with a small champion before somebody plays their coin, but once the shields are down, I usually now my misguided herald is much safer to attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting because that's another 6 in the air.
I guess he's playing really conservatively and making sure that he can stop the Brachiosaurus when it comes in.
Yeah. If I have the misguided heralds, though, I try to get in with them because those can be gone to Draka really quickly. So, or Ascaris. So, Hampus deciding to play defensively. He's gained the life.
Very defensively, yeah.
They're both basically at their starting life totals, and
honestly, I think that the main way that if Hampus can get Michael's health down, then he can just keep putting pressure on, and it's going to be a lot harder for Michael to stop the pressure than for Hampus to Hampus. I should say, Hampus's deck is a lot worse at fighting Michael's pressure than Michael is at reapplying pressure, I should say. So I think that Hampus should be looking to get Michael into a dangerous health total so that he doesn't just keep taking these Brock hits. Because, it doesn't matter how much health you have, really. Brock is going to chip away at that pretty fast.
We see Brock get in there. Yeah, as much as I understand he wants to play defensively, especially with that Brock out there, I feel like those misguided heralds getting in and saying, do I have an answer to this Brock? I've already played 2 erases this game, and he does have a second Silverwing Guardian here.
Right.
Maybe he thinks too, though. I'm going to play it safe, and I have this second Silverwing Guardian. I can race this Brock with my pump spells.
I mean, Hampus should know that a lightning strike was revealed. So, if I guess he's thinking that it's unlikely Michael has another 2 damage, but I would say it's pretty unlikely that the Silver Guardian's even getting to Hampus' turn. And that's why Lightning Strike is so powerful.
Yeah. Now we're going to see the Flame Spike into the Lightning Strike here.
I guess he's drawing first just in case. He might get a Feeding Frenzy or something he decides to play instead.
That's tough for Hampus. A 0 that recycles into a 0 to take care of your entire coin never feels good. So, and that's the power of zeros. Even if you think, I'm going to play the Silverwing Guardian only after my opponent plays a coin, there's nothing that Hampus can do there.
Yeah, and Hampus has a bunch of champions in play, but he is being blocked by these really large champions. He's playing like medium-sized things, but I mean, just look at that Kalani, right? The Kalani has done nothing this game. It's just sat there. It hasn't really provided meaningful blocks. It hasn't ever attacked, and this is a good example of a matchup where having lots of medium-sized champions can be blanked. You just drop a Triceratops, or not Triceratops, a Raging T-Rex or a Brachiosaurus, and that's all you need.
And especially when playing against, these decks are very different, but they are also both playing Brachiosaurus. And in this case, those just bouncing off each other and just like really starting to clog up the board. And they've been doing that more and more in this game.
The fact that Michael never needs to pause to draw cards, the fact that, all of his plays are refilling his hand, it's really starting to shine as the game goes longer.
Yes.
Because Hampus, definitely we see those turns where it's not just T-Rexes, but he has to draw 2 with like a Lashnox Will or something.
Right.
That's just, that's not a good spot to be in ever.
Yes. Yeah, Mike's Thought Pluckers and Draka's Enforcers, Raging T-Rexes, Brock, the Fist of Lashnoth, always replacing themselves. So I know we said it earlier that Hampus maybe wanted to go into the late game, but Mike looking like he's like, I can go into the late game maybe even more efficiently than you can.
Right.
And just by each one of my cards having that tribute draw card effect on them.
Well, I think that's what Hampus was broadcasting, but just looking at their decks, Hampus definitely needs to realize that, in my opinion, he is the beatdown. He has the aggressive cards. He has reach in the form of pumps, which means that if he's really close to finishing it off, he has a much higher chance of being able to close out the game by getting anything in, even if it's Misguide Heralds. And so Michael should be playing for the long game because that's what his deck is much better at doing. He has control elements. He has big champions. Lots of Hampus's plays are blanked because his mid-sized champions like Herald of Lashnock and Kalani are just not very don't do anything. And
Kalani versus Lightning strike in this matchup.
Right. I mean, Michael hasn't gained health, but that Thought Plucker made Hampus discard a card, him draw a card, and then it 8-5 from the Strafing Dragon.
I don't think Mike's taken a point of damage this whole game. He mulliganed too, and he's been able to block or remove every single threat that Hampus has had.
And not even necessarily proactively, but just by having large things, it's not really efficient for Hampus to block. And even with Hampus's huge board, he was still provoked into spending his gold first.
Right.
Because he's so low on cards in hand.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And even with the power level of Strafing Dragon, that's not a card that replaces itself. It's so powerful. So if the board clogs, and those are the kind of cards you have, you do run out. And with, Hampus has 1 Brock, Fist of Lashnoth in his deck, but Mike has 3.
Yeah.
And Mike has 3 Thought Pluckers, so more ways to break a board stall too, right?
Yeah. Even cards like Kong, which are really slow, but they provide so much value per card that, because you can't just remove a Kong very easily. And Feeding Frenzy, which is a 0, which usually is going to remove effectively a 1-cost card.
Right. So Hampus with the double block, this Raging T-Rex had to attack for Mike.
Right. Knowing the decks pretty well, Michael does not have any pumps, so that means he's going to need to spend resources to remove one of these blockers here.
Right. Or just say, that's what I was about to say. Or just say, I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
Which he is.
Right, because mostly, even though he has a Strafing Dragon, I think he's more worried about not dying in the air. I think Michael's looking at this from a perspective of, I win the long game, so I just need to make sure that his evasive attackers don't get me, because it doesn't really matter, if he has other champions. It's really the evasive attackers that are the most worrisome, that can chip me down and get killed by some huge buff on a champion, especially when he doesn't have that erase safety net to stop a really big attacker.
Exactly, and we've seen him prioritize where he had a choice between maybe Strafing Dragon and Raging T-Rex earlier, for which one he could kill. He made sure to take care of the Strafing Dragon and the Draken.
Yeah, and I think that helped out a lot because it provoked Hampus into not attacking with the Misguide Heralds. If he had the Strafing Dragon, he definitely would have gone in on those, and then 12 out of the 28 knocks you down to 16, and you're suddenly not in a position to be leveraging one attacker every turn.
I think I'm just confirming with Hampus's deck. Yet no Ancient Chance. The longer the game goes, Mike is also, he's done it twice now at least, showcasing the power of Ancient Chant. Yeah. Not only his draw twos, but he just recycled another Ancient Chant with that Amnesia, and that's another example of his cards like Wolfspite and Flame Spike. They're recycling those Ancient Chants. It means Mike never needs to take a turn off to draw two.
Right. I mean, even like,
or almost never.
Even like Wolfspite and Flame Spike, what we're seeing here is Michael is playing a slower, value-heavy version of the wild deck. So it's a wild deck, but most of the cards, generate value. Even Brachiosaurus, you can say, is a card that basically replaces itself because the extra gold you get means that you can follow it up with a Raging T-Rex or a Brock or a Smash and Burn or something like that.
Yeah, if I didn't have Ancient Chance and my opponent did, I would not want the game to keep going longer and longer. And
right.
Unfortunately, that's what's happening for Hampus right now.
Right, and so thinking long and hard about erasing that T-Rex. He wants to keep the pressure on. He's deciding to, give his opponent a play to get their cards back. But getting the 14 in right now means at 8 you're really low. In fact, I think Michael's considering just playing the Fire Shaman here because it represents lethal with the Strafing Dragon on his opponent's turn.
It is, because he has a Brachiosaurus as well, so he'll be able to...
Well, just that with Strafing Dragon.
Oh, right, because you already played the Erase coin this turn. You're right.
Right.
Yeah, so Hampus tried to block the Brock, but as I said earlier, the Erase being a huge card on both sides, and the Erase taking care of that.
Right, and then here he's probably going to
tempo play.
Chuck the Smash and Burn, and I would not be surprised if because Hampus doesn't have a lot of cards that can get rid of the Fire Shaman, he's just calling his bluff on it. And even if he does have an answer to it that isn't free, then that means not developing the board and losing the following turn to the
if
the Brock.
If Hampus doesn't do something to gain life before he passes initiative back to Mike wins, and he wins the whole round. That Fire Shaman plus the Strafing Dragon is exactly 8 to Hampus's face.
Yeah, I think Hampus...
Looks like the end, unfortunately, for Hampus. Let's see if he can pull something out. I don't think he has any life gain in his hand. And he can probably know. He knows Mike has Strafing Dragons. Yeah. Mike just slowly but surely just
kept playing with that Brock. Like, all right, I'm going to make sure you can't hit me or profitably attack. It's interesting. He decided to go for that instead of the Draka.
Yeah. There's it should be the Strafing Dragon.
I think Mike knows just it is true that Michael doesn't actually have a lot of burn in his deck, but letting your opponent get off that Fire Shaman is a dangerous proposition.
Yep, and there it is. Congratulations, Mike Sigrist, first one that we know of into the semis. I really like Hampus's deck. And we'll see how Tom Sorenson does, playing for I think almost the exact same 60.
Right.
But we'll talk more about that matchup and matchups in Constructed later. We are moving actually to Sam Black, James Moreland. They're in Game 3. Looks like Sam Black 2-0'd the Dark Draft, so James is under a lot of pressure. And let's get this deck list in front of us. Sam playing a very similar deck to Mike Sigrist. Value, Wild Sage. James Moreland playing the deck, the flock, the group of guys from Boston, both James and John Tatian in the top 8, playing this Xanos evil deck with some Sage and a splash for surprise attack. But James is going to need to win 3 straight here.
Yeah, and we're seeing, it looks like James is already in a tough spot. It looks like he has maybe 3 cards in his hand. Sam has nearly at least a full grip. And
yeah, looks like a couple, maybe at least 1 or 2 Ancient Chants. He chooses to recall the Ancient Chant, bring it back in his hand and drawing a card because it left the discard pile.
Yeah, I found in these evil heavy decks, one of the biggest issues is running out of off-turn plays to make because, especially in the evil faction, you don't have a lot of things you can do off-turn, and many of those even are the kind of plays that you want to be reacting to something. So you can't play a Drain Essence if your opponent doesn't have anything that's Drain Essenceable. You can't play a Medusa if your opponent has anything that's Medusa-able. I mean, there's some other things you can do. You have Rift Summoner is a really good establishing play, and there's other cards that you could play like Durjaskara, which those both played in here, but there's also what's the 0 cost that has ally ability, lose a health and make a demon token? Spawning demon. Things like that can actually establish. But evil tends to not have as many off-turn plays that it can make. And so when the game starts going long, evil heavy decks can struggle against really finding things to do and generating refilling their hands.
And I think that's why the flock are playing that surprise attack splash.
Right.
They recognized that and they realized we have to have other things we can do. We have to play these powerful evil champions off turn with surprise attack to really be able to stick with it.
Yeah.
Sam looking like
There's a lot of cards that generate the card advantage in that deck, because they also are running Gudgeons to draw cards. They're running Erases to have more off-turn draw card plays. And even with all of that, we can see James's hand is being rolled down over time.
I think Sam has 9 or 10 cards in his hand right now, deciding which ones to discard. Never a bad feeling. Looks like Sam also has his one of Hurricane in his hand right now. He discards a Raging T-Rex and Brock the Fist of Lashnoth.
So James probably looking for an Angel of Death right now. That would be the best case scenario.
Or one of the Dark One's Fury.
Yeah,
maybe he needs something. An Angel of Death would probably be even better.
Right.
He needs. That's what's so hard against the Brachiosaurus.
I mean,
constantly putting pressure.
You could also get away with a like a Will of Skara, or even a Drain Essence wouldn't be the end of the world here.
Right. And that is right. So I was waiting for the life totals when we were first moving to this game.
Yes.
It was 17, but I thought I saw that Draka connected for another 9.
Wow.
And I'm just checking. Yeah, no Flame Strike in Sam's deck. They are the slower version. They're not nearly as burn heavy, but still 8 is. I mean, that's a Brachiosaurus. I mean that he's.
Looks like a Drain Essence.
Yep.
But I would be surprised if
going back
Sam or if James has good ways to fight the Brachiosaurus on the ground off turn. I mean, I guess he could have a Medusa in hand and just try to 1-for-1.
Yep. And it's looking like this Strafing Dragon, the ambush, the off turn, the constant pressure, another 5 to James's face, and presenting again lethal on the board before James has played his coin. James is really, really on the back foot here in Game 3.
Yep. And even if his plan is to do something like a Medusa, he's going to need to follow that up pretty quickly. Let's see. So if he's going to be playing is that Zombie Apocalypse, then he's probably going to want a Heinous Feast first to gain, it looks like, 4 or 5 health, and also remove those zombies from the board.
Right. I believe Sam just picked up Scaros, though, as well. So even if he goes for the Heinous Feast in the Zombie Apocalypse, that Scaros going to deal a lot of damage and remove all of those zombies.
Well, if he does nothing, then he's dead.
Right.
So
got to do something, James.
There
he is. Yeah, I mean.
It looks like, that's not Heinous Feast. Oh, man, that's bad news, just because my guess is Sam is going to get a lot more zombies than James is.
And James just saying, I have Zombie Apocalypse as an off-turn board wipe. If I don't use it here, then...
Right, and I mean, that's the danger of Zombie Apocalypse. Zombie Apocalypse is a really hard card to play because you want to put it in decks that won't off-turn board wipes, but also in decks that have a lot of champions.
Yeah.
And generally, those decks don't really, those styles are very conflicting. Like, generally, you either want off-turn board wipes or champions, but it has the potential to be really strong asymmetrical value. And in this case, it is very asymmetrical.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Scaros here. Not only clearing the zombies out of the way, but just dealing, I think, 5 or 6 more damage to James. See what else Sam has. He will start with Amnesia. Has the Ancient Chant to draw another 2 cards. Because he grabbed that Ancient Chant, it really makes me think he's going for Scaros here.
Yeah, and the Amnesia turns into potentially 2 wild cards.
Right. And he thinks, like, James is like, great, I get these Dirges, but there's nothing he can do, and Sam's setting up for this giant Scaros, where James loses both Dirge of Skara trigger.
Yeah, he gets the tokens.
Yep, that's exactly what he does after the draw 2 from the Amnesia Recycle. That's 7. James is at 5. There's no demons, there's no zombies on his side.
And then he's also got the Flame Spike, and that is the draw 3, deal 2 damage, right? So
the Fiery Demise, yes, the new card from...
So he actually has lethal in hand.
You're right, and he's revealed it to James. So unless James can gain life again before he passes that initiative to Sam, then that's it.
I don't think they're running any Heinous Feast, so the only...
Yep, actually.
Oh, okay.
He could Heinous Feast.
It's Heinous Feast or Drain Essence are the only... Or I guess there's also Scar's Gift.
James did pick up his one of Flashfire.
We
but
can't
that's not a card
really
he
play
wants to play right now either. He wants to play it to get rid of those zombies, but he can... maybe he has Life Gain in his hand as well. If he has a Heinous Feast, he can Flash Fire. Or a Drain Essence.
Oh, that actually clears the board.
Yes. Flash Fire, Drain Essence. Wow. What a Flash Fire from James. He's not giving up.
That's why it's played.
He's saying, I'm not done yet.
Seems like, oh, no.
I didn't think James...
Keep fighting.
I was like, I think this might be it, but that was awesome from James. So, hanging in there.
So that's going to bring his... Yep, up to 12. Getting that chip damage in. Just another 14 more Flash Fires.
Yep. That's also, for all of you listening, not possible in James's deck.
Yes.
Not enough reusable knowledges and memory spirits for that.
Oh, yeah. I would be shocked if someone won that way.
So, Sam, started with Flame Spike, getting James to 10, and then
so I'm not sure what that one hidden card is, but maybe it's a misguide?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
It was a Brock that he got off of...
Off of the Flame Spike.
Yeah.
I was going to say, calling doesn't seem too great there, but...
I guess dangerous, but enough of it could be enough of a
You could
threat.
just win with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Draw 2.
Looking for Hasty Retreat.
Yep. He doesn't find Hasty Retreat, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Congratulations, Sam. We didn't get to see any of the almost at all of the Dark Draft, but coming out 2-0, that alone such an advantage.
Absolutely.
So, we are getting to see. Awesome. In our other feature match, we've moved over to Colin Kenney and Tom Sorenson. Looks like they're just starting constructed here in. Yep. Move our deck lists over. All right. So we just saw Hampus, Tom Sorenson's deck. I'm not 100% sure, but I think 59, 60 cards look pretty much exactly the same here. There might be, I think Tom might be playing one of Fiery Demise and maybe a couple other differences that are different than Hampus's, but the same strategy. That deck. And
it'll be interesting to see Calvin here. He's pretty well spec'd against Tom's deck, considering he's running both 3 Spore Beasts and no Hasty Retreats, but
2 Erase.
2 Erase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those Spore Beasts, though, in many ways, the equivalent of Wild's Hasty Retreat in the sense of a 0 that can take a giant threat out of combat, or in Spore Beasts, take it out of combat, or Hasty Retreat, bounce it.
Right. And it's going to be pretty hard to remove for Tom's deck, considering there's, that looks like the Flash Fire was cut, so that means there's the 3 Flame Spikes, and then otherwise you're spending a gold.
Yeah. So if Tom, looking at Calvin's deck, Tom says those Flame Spikes, I probably need to have very specific. I need to specifically use these for something really great, or keep them for Spore Beast, because that card can be a really big problem for me.
Yeah, I could definitely see them being used pretty much exclusively on Spore Beast, and the other big 0-cost pingers like Force Mage Apprentice and Fire Shaman, which are both in Calvin's deck. It'd be interesting to see if Calvin decides to play those cards, Fire Shaman and Force Mage Apprentice, very aggressively, because Tom doesn't have a lot of ways to actually clear those off the board.
Yeah. So we see mulligans here. Tom mulligan 4. Yesterday, I saw him in a game mulligan 5. He, with this deck, I'm not exactly sure yet exactly what he's looking for, but he is always looking for a very specific opening hand, and he's not afraid to mulligan. I saw in the game that he mulliganed 5, he won.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid if you don't like the cards in your opening hand. That's what that's for. And Tom uses that mulligan almost every game to get exactly what he wants.
Yeah, and especially I think with this type of deck where you have the potential to do so much in one turn, that mulliganing a hand that's a little that this doesn't have exactly what you're looking for can be just threaten to fire off a ton of offense on the first turn of the game.
Yep. And Tom looks like he was on the play, starts with the Herald of Lashnoth, and he picked up one of those Flame Spikes. That's the card he chose.
I mean, deal 8, draw a Flame Spike, have an 8/6 breakthrough. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, and he also just attacked with it before Calvin played his coin, and Calvin said, "Yeah, I'll take the 8."
Yeah.
Calvin's deck, playing Calvin's deck more aggressive than what we just saw from Mike Sigrist.
Right.
Like he's playing Hunting Raptors. He has a greater Lightning Worm. He has Flame Strikes. So Calvin's much more of the aggressive wild deck, and we see that right away with the Hunting Raptors.
I mean, the nice thing about attacking is that you're less likely to broadcast what sort of buffs that you have in your hand. And also, I think he's just trying to think in his head, what could my opponent have? And definitely there are situations where not attacking means that Calvin would just pass. It just gain the 8 health and draw a card.
Right, exactly. Just choosing to say, yep, I don't have to play a coin. So Fire Shaman into Raging T-Rex, 3 damage to the Herald of Lashnoth, Hunting Raptors finishing it off. Plus a draw 2 for Calvin.
Not a great situation for Tom, just that in the sense that that Hunting Raptors and Fire Shaman are really going to beat down on his champions.
Yep. And after Tom plays his coin, Calvin plays the Cave Troll. I always like seeing that, even if you know your opponent's deck, but just in any game, waiting to see what they do, waiting to see if they play an off-turn board wipe. And after you play your coin, most of the time, especially when they're behind, your opponent's going to play their coin.
Right.
You can hold off on those zeros, and Calvin did that there with the Cave Troll.
Even if you know your opponent doesn't have any board wipes, because Tom's deck doesn't have any board wipes, but even when there aren't any board wipes in your opponent's deck, just not letting them know that you have another play that you're going to be adding to the board, because they might do something different.
Exactly. He did reveal that Cave Troll off the Raging T-Rex. Regardless, though, what you just said is another really, like in that nuance of Epic, that those little edges you're trying to make with limited resources to find your way ahead.
I mean, for all we know, he had a Fiery Demise in his hand, and he wanted to Fiery Demise the Cave Troll, and then also, kill the Force Mage, the Fire Shaman with the Flame Spike, but he couldn't make that play because the Cave Troll wasn't in play.
Yeah, always giving your opponent the least amount of time or space to make the play they want. Tom is deciding right now. He is quickly under a lot of pressure. Calvin's deck, faster, more aggressive, direct burn.
The tricky
I
part
would think a card like the Silver Wing Guardians that Tom has, even in this matchup, probably even more of a card he's searching for.
Right. Well, I mean, the tricky part about it is that because Calvin is playing so much burn, he has removal for Tom's champions, and that makes the champions that Tom has much less likely to stick. And I think that's just a great counter to, it's a great strategy against this type of deck. If your opponent's playing a lot of buffs, well, one way to make sure that most of their cards are blanked is never let them have a champion in play.
Yeah. And that's always, I mean, in games, if having is in Epic, for instance, you have champions. If you could get stuck with 2-3 Brave Squires, a couple Force Lances in your hand, it's always the risk.
Yeah.
That you have everything you need to go off, but your opponent's just keeping you off of ever being able to attack with that champion. So, drawing to a Smash and Burn, activating the Smash and Burn from his discard pile to get rid of that Hunting Raptors. That's one of those cards that can't just keep sticking around. It's already a Flame Strike on a stick, and
forced a Flame Spike there. Doesn't get the recycle. It looks like
he could have recycled, but he chose not to because of the power of Smash and Burn.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And again, we just saw him use a Flame Spike, not on a Spore Beast, but that Fire Shaman was also putting a lot of pressure.
Right. I mean, that Fire Shaman was definitely going to be doing, presumably, easily 12 damage this game. If there's no way Tom was winning in the next 2 turns.
Yeah. And Calvin drawing 2 with his Flash Fire. That's a Hasty Retreat, Flash Fire, Amnesia. Something as powerful as they are, they also all have draw 2s on them.
Right.
They're so versatile. So Calvin has to attack with the T-Rex, and this is a defensive Brave Squire, just making it a 6-1 unbreakable this turn. He might be maybe he has another pump. Double Brave Squire.
Bigger. Yeah.
Double Brave Squire could get rid of the Raging T-Rex, but just a chump block and a 1/1 that'll stick around to hopefully chump block the Raging T-Rex again. Tom says, though, this Cave Troll, it's a problem. I don't want to play my coin first. I got to use my life total as a resource. Takes the 5.
Yeah, if that was any other champion, then you would just you could use things like Brave Squire to get rid of it, but you don't really want to be spending your resources, which are pretty much your main way of winning the game, to block a champion for a turn.
Yeah, this is a really tough matchup for Tom because of the Cave Trolls, because Tom is not playing any discard removal, which means this Cave Troll this Cave Troll is going to be a problem for Tom in all the games. I think Cave Troll's an incredible choice for Calvin this weekend. A lot of decks playing Roxas Curse, a lot of decks going away from discard to try to deal with the board with Spore Beasts and with hasty retreats over Amnesias, and Cave Troll, really great meta choice for this weekend, and obviously it's done Calvin well.
You can also it can be offensive and defensive. The turn you play it blocks your opponent's various champions on the ground, but like it can block Raging T-Rexes
over
and things
and over.
like that. Yeah. But it can just still be like this when your opponent is on the back foot, just act as a deal 5 every turn.
Yeah, Cave Troll, very strong, and seems perfectly situated for this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of people underestimate it because, when everybody is playing the same type of deck, when everybody's playing the wild deck that, is super aggressive, it just throws cards that deal direct damage to your face and Strafing Dragons, that type of thing.
Right.
Then Cave Troll and Dracos of Forces and things like that, Cave Troll really doesn't shine because it's just too slow. It can't block things on the ground. It can't block things that aren't on the ground.
In the game we were watching before, right? Where it's more like a Kalani that doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this meta, we have people. We just saw the match you just saw was one off of a Brack that just kept getting played. It was just a 1-cost champion that didn't do anything the turn you played it. It just stuck there. And then if it was there the next turn, you attacked with it. And then if it connected, if the opponent didn't have an answer on any of those 3 turns, then you would deal your damage.
Right.
And that was pretty much exclusively how the first match was won, both constructed games.
Yes.
I mean, I think that goes to show how slow some of these decks are.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
over that turn cycle that we just took a brief pause, there was a Hunting Raptors that dealt 8, a Flame Strike, and a Flash Fire, and that's enough to take care of Tom. This is tough for. Oh wait, did Tom get the win there? Is that? I think Calvin. Oh yeah, sorry. Just confirming. I was. Yeah. Calvin with the win there. I was a little confused. I was like, wait. No, but for that's just a tough game for Tom. I feel like he also mulliganed 4. He mulliganed 4, and as this hard give and take. You're looking for Silverwing Guardian, you need the life gain, but if you mulligan, you're also, especially against a super aggressive wild deck like Calvin, you're also putting that clock on yourself. So it's going to be very difficult for Tom to, especially because I know his play style and I know he likes to mulligan, but just saying like, what do I have to mulligan when Calvin's playing Hunting Raptors and Flame Strikes?
Yeah.
He will be on the draw. Most likely, he'll choose to be on the draw. Tom will for Game 4.
It's also just tough because Calvin is, again, playing so many cards that are really good against Tom's deck.
Yeah.
Like, he could just have a... Like, even like Kong is great because it removes a champion, and then it's so hard to deal with that Kong champion. Because,
and for both of these decks, because a lot of decks, you'll see... Actually, no. There's Hurricanes for Calvin. So I was going to say, Tom's deck and this deck from Tom this weekend, it's super aggressive. It's super. I love all the new cards, right? The Force Lances and everything. But we usually see a lot of decks. They have something, right? They have Zombie Apocalypse. Yeah, they have Zombie Apocalypses or Dark One Fury and John and James deck. We see Wave of Transformation. Hurricanes or Flames of Furos. Tom's deck doesn't have any of that. I mean, he's really saying, like, I can't fall behind.
Right.
I'm just going to attack. And if I do fall behind, I'm going to need a Silverwing Guardian and plus a Brave Squire to be able to not only continue doing the damage I have to do. So both of these decks very aggressive. Probably our two most aggressive decks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think
so. Very little defense. We'll see what Tom can put together. He wants an aggressive draw. And I imagine Silverwing Guardian is a card he's hoping very desperately to see in this matchup with Calvin.
Yeah, even Silverwing Guardian has a hard time.
Well,
yeah, just because of its small defense. I think probably what Tom wants are champions that are sizable enough to be difficult to remove. So I wouldn't even be surprised if T-Rex and Misguided Herald were both the kind of cards that they're looking for this game. Even Draka can be pretty hard to remove when most of your removal is direct damage.
Wow. Calvin mulliganing 3, Tom 5. He's
digging deep.
So, that too. The Silverwing Guardian, as powerful as that card is, that's 6 defense against people playing Smash and Burns. It's so hard. And it does pick up a Misguided Herald, so... Oh, we might get to see... Oh, we will.
Oh.
Misguide into Misguide. I've seen all 3 happen before, so...
oh, yeah.
We could see another one. Come on, Tom. Give us another Misguided Herald. Just asking if you...
Do you want to cut those 4 cards and put it on the bottom of my deck?
I don't think we'll get there.
Yeah. Something tells me.
Oh. So he's got 2 choices here, the Brachiosaurus or the Silverwing Guardian.
I mean, the issue with Brachiosaurus is his hand. So the one awkward thing about this hand is he has no off-turn place at all.
Yeah,
that'd
be tough.
He's playing Force Lance, for a Flame Spike. And he's got he's got a Strafing Dragon.
Right.
So if he plays the Brachiosaurus here and then Calvin calls his bluff, which I imagine is going to happen, he doesn't actually really have a good follow-up play. I mean, he can play Strafing Dragon.
I don't think he doesn't have the loyalty to, though. I don't think. Maybe.
No, he does. He has Kalani.
Okay, that's Kalani's the last card. Okay.
Yeah. So he could play his entire hand right now if he wanted to.
Calvin with the Thought Plucker. Thought Plucker's really hard, especially early before you've had times to draw 2s or get your Ancient Chance. This is going to put a lot of pressure on Tom's
I think he wants to discard one of the recycles. I think he probably wants to discard Force Lance and then go... Force... No. Let's see. Huh, that's interesting. He doesn't actually have a way to recycle unless he discards the Kalani. He's going to look to recycle.
That way he can Flame Spike and then have the Force Lance for the recycle now.
Right.
Calvin does have 3 Amnesia in his deck as well, though.
Right. Well, I mean, he's probably not thinking, oh, well, you know.
Well, no, I'm just thinking ahead. I was just checking. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and again, Tom mulligan 5, so I mean, you mulligan 5, whatever you get is what you get. And he looked at his hand and he said, this is what I have. Yeah. I think off that Misguided Herald, he was probably really hoping to hit.
Oh, he didn't actually spend his golds. His extra golds from the Brachiosaurus.
He didn't. I mean, all he has is a Strafing Dragon. I mean, he can play Strafing Dragon just as a 6/6
I would probably
blitz.
just do an attack for 6. I mean, it's kind of awkward, but honestly, I feel like that's the route you've gone down, right?
Right.
Like, how else are you going to win this game? This is almost definitely going to be Draka remove both Misguides. If he had that Strafing Dragon, he could at least threaten to deal another 6 turn. Oh, interesting.
He might have a Draka already in hand, so he just gets an 8/12 with it as well.
Right.
Yeah, and he does. I didn't see it yet, but I thought, if you don't take the Draka there, usually it's another Draka. So, yeah. But taking the Brachiosaurus, just even more pressure, and revealing 2 Hurricanes. Yeah. Both Sam and Mike playing 1 Hurricane. Calvin's got 3. And that's definitely something that could come up against those Xanos decks. We'll see later.
Yeah. See, I'd be interested to see, like, what the route would have been if, say, the Force Lance was discarded, and then you have, if you just like basically discard your hand, but you can still do, what, 11, 16 to Calvin that turn, if you just like played everything in your hand.
Right. Force Lance, his Brachiosaurus.
Right. So gains plus to attack.
But also, just as the recycle, because he has the loyalty to Strafing Dragon in his hand, and that's a Sage card, not a Wild card. So he picks up a surprise attack. I think it maybe 2 Strafing Dragon. Either way, I think off that Misguided Herald to start the game, Tom was just looking for a Raging T-Rex. And that Thought Plucker, even though it went away right away, just enough pressure to keep.
Yeah, I mean, discard is...
It just early enough in the game.
Yeah. The less cards you have, the more, the harder those are. And it basically ate 2 cards because the Flame Spike would have been able to recycle this turn and kill a Misguide. Instead, it did nothing. It just, I mean, it killed the Thought Plucker, but it didn't get to recycle, so.
Exactly. And if you don't recycle when you kill the Thought Plucker, it's 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Or 3 for 1. Because you drew a card.
All right, so a little dangerous because he picked up an erase.
Yep. Let's see. Tom has 42 Wild in his deck, but he is playing those splashes for both good and Sage. That means if you have a low hand, you're not always going to be able to loyalty to, and he can't.
Yeah, I think he surprised act. He was really hoping to get a T-Rex there. Like that's what he needed. He just needed like a refill on his hand or some other kind of card advantage, like a Herald Flash Knock or something like that. But
and we talked about with Evil not having a lot off turn. Wild sometimes with certain builds, especially the super aggressive build, not always having enough draw effects. The power of Smash and Burn and Raging T-Rex really stand out. Your deck feels like an engine when you get to play those cards.
So it looks like that's what Tom was doing on his turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom's really on the back foot here, and Calvin not letting up with that Strafing Dragon. So Calvin starts with the Misguide Herald.
Interesting. Not attacking with the... I guess he's trying to see what else he can get out of his opponent's hand. And Tom is knowing Tom's deck, he's very unlikely to be able to remove a champion like that.
Another reason to start with the Misguide Herald is if the Strafing Dragon blocks, that Draka finishes it off, right, with another attack.
Right, yeah.
But Tom erases the Draka so that maybe he can block this Misguide Herald, but he has played his coin now, and he still has the other Strafing Dragon. And
yeah, here comes...
That's it. Yeah, the Fire Shaman 3, Draka, the final 3 for Strafing Dragon. And just like that, 2 really quick games and constructed. Calvin, super aggressive Wild, takes it down 3-1 in the quarterfinals. Congratulations to Calvin. And very well played this weekend from Tom. He's such a voice in the game, such a great guy. Congratulations, Tom, for making top 8. And he is Epic Card Game Tom, and he's written all kinds of articles. He's done a lot of great things for the game. So really excited to see him as well. But congratulations. Congratulations to Calvin. Also to Calvin. Calvin, 2 days ago, won a last chance qualifier here.
Wow.
So a really big congratulations to Calvin. Not only just to have to play without the Pantheon cards, win the qualifier, put together a deck, and then play with these, the Pantheon cards and against the Pantheon cards. So congratulations, and Calvin will be moving forward. We have here on the screen, so that was the last one I didn't know. It does look like John Tatian beat Nick Blandin and moves on. So we have John versus Mike Sigrist and Calvin Kenny versus Sam Black. So let's look at the four decks that are left. John is playing that Xanos deck. Mike and Sam both playing a very similar deck of the Kong, Amnesia, Brock, Fist of Lashnoth, slower version of slow Wild Sage, and Calvin playing the super aggressive Burn Sage deck. So we are going to take a short break here before the semifinals, but we will be back with you soon. Thank you again so much for being with us, and we look forward to the semifinals very soon. We'll see you soon, guys. As our main feature match, table 5.